All right. Well, welcome everyone to the October 20th, 2021 Environmental Quality Commission meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with Environmental Quality Commission, or EQC members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. So we'd like to start the meeting off with roll call. I'd first like to begin by introducing the EQC members and staff that are present tonight. First, we have Commissioner Elkins, Vice Chair Evans, Commissioner Gaylord, Commissioner Cabot, Commissioner London, myself, Chair Payne, and Commissioner Price. Staff present as well tonight include Rebecca Lucky, our Sustainability Manager, Police Chief David Norris, Assistant of Public Works Director Brian Henry, the Public Works Supervisor of the Fleet Donald Weber, the Sustainability Contractor Chris Starkey, and the Sustainability Contractor Candace Almendral. Ms. Almendral, would you please provide instructions to the advisory body and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed tonight?
Thank you, Chair Payne. And members of the EQC, welcome everyone to the October 20th EQC meeting, and thank you for attending. At this time, we ask that the members of the EQC please remain on screen for the duration of the meeting. You will control your own webcams and microphones. Staff will engage webcams and microphones to make presentations and respond to members of the EQC. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raise hand feature. I will then have the ability to open your microphone and you can provide your public comment to the EQC. For those members of the public who are calling in from a landline or a cell phone, please dial *9. This will raise your virtual hand and I will allow you to give comment at that point as well. That concludes instructions and I return the meeting to.
Thank you, Ms. Almendral. So now we'll begin with general public comment. So under public comment, the public may address the advisory body on any subject not listed specifically on the agenda. Each speaker may address the advisory body once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The advisory body cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the advisory body cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Do we have any general public comment at this point? Sorry, I believe you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just as a reminder for anybody who wishes to make public comment, please engage that raised hand feature or dial *9. Last call for public comment. There are no public comments at this time.
All right, then we can move on to our regular business. So under regular business, the EQC considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require EQC approval. The first item tonight is item D1, to review and discuss upcoming city vehicle purchases as it relates to the city's sustainable fleet policy and climate action plan strategy goal number 5, which is to eliminate fossil fuels from city operations. Ms. Lucky, can you introduce this item and the presenters this evening?
Thank you, Chair Payne. So tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce Chris Starkey, who's been our sustainability consultant for CAP number 5, which is to eliminate fossil fuels from municipal operations as part of our climate action plan goal. And he's got extensive experience in green building. He's worked with the state of New York to decarbonize buildings by 2050. You can correct me if I've gotten that off the year or earlier. So he's been working with our public works team on analyzing ways we can decarbonize our fleet. And so I will hand it off to Mr. Chris Starkey. Thank you.
Hi, can everybody hear me all right? Great. Well, let me go ahead and jump into the presentation here. Oh, the screen sharing is disabled by the host.
Ms. Lucky or Almendral, do one of you have permission to give Mr. Starkey permission in order to share?
Yes, actually, I'll pull up the presentation and then we can go from there.
Oh, I had made a few minor changes. Is there no way for me to screen share, Rebecca?
Oh, well, let me check then here. Give me a second. How about now?
There it is. All right. All right. Well, this is primarily we're talking about the vehicle procurement order request that's coming to the City Council in a week. And it's very important to the fleet manager, the police, which is why we have everybody on the call today. The agenda for this presentation is we're going to talk just really quickly about how this fits into Cat 5. We're going to talk quickly about the sustainable fleet policy. Then we'll get into the bigger effort on fleet decarbonization and kind of our strategic planning around that. And then the specifics of how that relates to this vehicle purchase order. So Cat 5 is it's our municipal decarbonization plan. We have a goal to get to 100% decarbonization by 2030, which is a very ambitious plan. The city inventory, the city emissions, is really only about 1% of the citywide inventory. So it's a small portion of the plan, but it's a very impactful portion of the plan because it shows leadership in the marketplace. We're working towards a comprehensive municipal decarbonization plan, and in the next few months, Rebecca and I will be talking a lot more about what we're doing. But the biggest impact areas that we're working on are facilities, procurement and waste, and fleet. And fleet is what we're talking about today. So here's the most detailed GHG emissions inventory we've had of this fleet specifically to date. It's about a quarter to a third of the overall muni inventory. And about a third of that is police vehicles. And about 2/3 of that is police vehicles, and about another third of that is public works and community development vehicles. We did in 2020 adopt a sustainable fleet policy, which is an incredible piece of policy. And I think you guys all got a link to that policy in the agenda, and I assume you've all read it or reviewed it at some point in time. Happy to get into the details of that later, but safe to say the city is working overtime to meet or exceed both the spirit of this resolution and the kind of the ambitious targets laid out in Section A and Section C. So it's very difficult to switch to purchasing EVs in the near term and get to a 50% of purchases by 2025. That's a very difficult thing to do. But this is a powerful policy. It's creating all sorts of coordination challenges for the city. And it's really changing the way we do business. And we can get into the specifics of any of these issues in the sustainable fleet policy if needed. And I don't want to dwell on it, but this shift is a huge challenge to the city. The fleet isn't 100 passenger vehicles. It's a lot of eccentric, purpose-built vehicles, heavy and medium duty trucks, passenger vans, custom patrol vehicles. It's not the kind of stuff that's the first thing on the market. And they don't just fill up at a station or charge in a driveway. They're spread across multiple lots, many of which have no electric connections. They're designed to work. They're designed to work during work hours, and all park in one lot during off hours, or in many cases, they're 24-hour vehicles. So figuring out how to rapidly charge those vehicles is a challenge. This is a really big, difficult puzzle, made even more challenging by the reality that the charging an EV marketplace is evolving very quickly. It's changing weekly. But we're pushing forward. We're intrepidly pushing forward. In some cases, we have things on order that if they were in the fleet today, if they came into the door tomorrow, we wouldn't actually have the charging infrastructure for that. So we would be ahead of our skis. But we're pushing forward, with faith that our Public Works Department will be able to install charging infrastructure in time to meet the demands. And everyone's working full bore on that. Now, the kind of challenging coordination of it means that what we've had to do is go through and build a detailed vehicle by vehicle inventory that allows us to create scenarios for the EV conversion of the whole fleet. So Don and I have gone vehicle by vehicle and looked into our crystal ball and tried to project out the likely date that vehicle might be converted to EVs. And with that, we've also been able to project what that would mean from a emissions perspective. So, oh, there we go. So this is our first projection of what it might look like to try and decarbonize the fleet between now and 2030. And I just want to look back and talk about the progress we've made from the baseline year of 2018, 2019. We've made 30 to 40 tons of emissions reductions each year. 30 to 40 tons of emissions reductions each year by the introduction of hybrids and EVs into the police force, through the switching all of our diesel fuels to renewable diesel, by adding the EV for the police chief. And our current projection based on the purchase request to council, that's going to council, would be an additional 30 tons of per annum reduction in GHG emissions. So I just want to talk about what the scenario is. The EV conversion assumptions in this scenario, which is, by the way, an early adopter scenario, this is a really aggressive scenario, is that we purchase only EVs after 2025. We purchase any EVs or ZEVs after 2025. So there are some extremely heavy duty stuff that it's unlikely that's going to be converted in 2026, 27. But we do have renewable diesel to kind of fill that gap. But the plan is for only ZEVs purchased after 2025. EVs purchased before 2025 would be all the non-patrol police department vehicles, all the light duty general fleet vehicles, a patrol vehicle pilot, and 50% of the patrol vehicles that we purchase in 2023 and 2024. So this is a very aggressive EV purchase scenario. Now, the resultant emissions, I know what we care about most as environmentalists is the area under the curve, which is the total amount of emissions that the fleet will produce over that next 10 years. It works out to, in this scenario, 3,400 megatons of CO2, approximately. I should say the units in the graph are in kilograms of CO2. So you just have to divide that by 1,000. Now it doesn't actually make a ton of sense to be this aggressive economically or practically. It would make a lot more sense to wait for the market to mature. The scenario we're proposing is an early adopter scenario, but we understand that there's a lot of value to Menlo Park pushing the market forward by being an early adopter. So this is a scenario that would be a slower, more market-based, but continuing to purchase more hybrid and more efficient vehicles. And then there's an alternate scenario here too, because I know some of you have already looked at the vehicle request and know that we are requesting hybrids and other gasoline consuming vehicles. There's another scenario here where we defer the purchase of those hybrid vehicles in favor of waiting on the market to develop appropriate EVs. And we think that also doesn't make a ton of sense in the short term, because primarily these are petrol vehicles that retire after 5 years. So switching them now to hybrids actually saves us emissions in the long run, or it's roughly net neutral. It's roughly emissions neutral. So yeah, we think that the thing to do, but this would also be more expensive in the short term from a maintenance perspective. So we think the thing to do is to go ahead and move forward with this this purchase request. So all of this is the purchase request that's coming up in the next staff report. I believe every one of these vehicles is taking us in the right direction. Even that kind of medium heavy duty F550, which is going from diesel to gasoline. The reason it's being converted is because it needs to start and stop all the time. And as a diesel engine, it's breaking down, and we don't want to leave it out there idling all the time. So it needs to be converted to gasoline, or it'll continue to constantly fail. Why hybrids? I think we have the chief on, and we want to talk about some of the challenges of purchasing vehicles for the police. But in essence, we simply just don't see a market alternative yet, an acceptable market alternative yet for our police vehicles. And we can't continue deferrals on those patrol vehicles. They're already 2 years past their expected retirement date, and they're starting to have problems. And ultimately, we think, if we were to try and defer, like I said before, it would be it might be a few years before the appropriate vehicles are available, and at that point, it would be a kind of net a wash in emissions. And this does have a huge impact, like that. Those hybrid patrol vehicles in particular reduce our overall emissions year over year by 5%. And I wanted to give Chief Norris the opportunity to talk a little now about the challenge of what vehicles mean to the police force, and his commitment to electrifying the police force vehicles in the next few years.
Thanks, Chris, and give me the high side and let me know if I'm taking too long and hijacking the rest of your meeting, because I don't want to do that either. But just to give you all a little bit of background, so we do have a significant number of hybrid vehicles that we've taken on into patrol now. The purpose of that is to at least get a lead, as Chris said, on trying to reduce some of these emissions coming from vehicles. The number of hybrids that we have in the fleet and what we're doing is very progressive, just in terms of police departments in this area, police departments nationwide. We are in the progressive realm with the number of vehicles that we're already taking to this kind of compromise stance. But the reason that we're in this position now, and that we're looking forward towards the EV opportunities, we know that the city is committed to converting the entire fleet over to electric vehicles within a certain time range. We are dedicated to being a good partner with the rest of the city departments in that pursuit. But what we also want to be conscious of are a number of safety factors and practicality factors that go with patrol cars in general, and how we use them to make sure that we are doing this correctly, and that we're doing this with the appropriate infrastructure in to make it happen correctly, and that we also give our personnel an opportunity to have a stake in how we convert that over. So I will tell you up front, I've already put information out to our entire department to let them know that if they didn't realize that we have a commitment to convert our entire city fleet over to electric vehicles by 2030, and that we are part of that city organization and we are part of that commitment, and that is something that is going to happen, but that I'm asking our officers to help us contribute to a good strategy that allows us to put ourselves in the best position to be successful in that turnover. So what I mean by that is we are very interested in taking on and testing a fully electric patrol vehicle. I would like to have, our officers have the opportunity to drive that, to look at the ability that those vehicles have on the street, to kind of pick apart some of the issues that we have with that this contemporary problem that we have right now is that electric vehicles are capable of being part of our private driving force, but not any of them are currently being manufactured for the sole purpose of putting them out in police patrol. And there are some specific things that go with that. Police vehicles have different suspensions, they have different transmission systems, they are required to work at a very high demand level in whether that's in police pursuits or whether officers are pulling up on scene and hopping up over curbs, or whether these patrol vehicles are moving very fast in traffic to get from one location to another, so fast starts and stops and turns. We want to make sure that these vehicles are suited for those safety factors, as well as the equipment that's inside the vehicle, which every police vehicle inside it has the equipment console that runs the lights and everything else, which has to be retrofitted by an outfitter. Most of the materials that are used to retrofit vehicles like Ford Explorers, Dodge Chargers, and other vehicles that are used conventionally as police vehicles, they're being manufactured and they're being sold to vendors, and they're easy to install for vehicles that are used to having those equipment pieces installed on them. For example, for the Tesla, I know that a couple of you have experience with Tesla's Model Y being introduced in the Fremont Police Department fleet. The equipment that's going to go on that, the push bars, the light bars, all of the lighting equipment is all going to be specially crafted by a group of engineers who are going to be crafting these things for the first time, and hopefully creating something that they will be able to vend in the future. And so we don't know, what the timing and what the look of that is, but what we can tell you is that Fremont's police vehicles that they're outfitting now, the two Tesla Model Ys, are being outfitted by the same group that outfits our patrol cars. So we'll have a front row seat to the retrofitting that they're going to do. We've already been in contact with Fremont PD. We're going to be learning along with them as they test these models out. The current model that they have, that they've been testing for a few years, which is a Tesla Model S, they've had for several years, that is one car out of 80 cars in their fleet. And these two Tesla Model Ys will be two additional cars out of a total of 80 cars in their fleet, which are more conventional, either gas or hybrid vehicles. And so that's a very, very small percentage of the vehicles that they're putting out there. They're testing and evaluating those, and we should be doing the same thing over the coming years. What the choice of going to hybrids over the near term does for us is it allows us to, do our part, continue to stay facing forward into moving towards zero emissions, but not losing traction while we test and evaluate what will be the appropriate choice for our officers, and then give our personnel the opportunity to have a hand in how we design that future. These officers, this isn't just a vehicle that gets you from one place to another or gets you from one job site to another. These are vehicles that our officers are driving close to 12 hours a day. It is their office, it is their lunchroom, it is their high-speed pursuit vehicle, it is their report writing room, And so these officers have a great attachment to how that environment operates around them. And we want to make sure that they're prepared to transition that to whatever that looks like in electric vehicles. You know, the other thing that I know Chris and I have talked about is, you know, this is a little bit like Moore's law with what's happening right now with electric vehicles, right? There's a lot more that's happening with some of the conventional manufacturers and the U.S. manufacturers who the police tend to lean on for their patrol vehicles, looking to go electric with various different models. But we are a couple of years out from actually seeing those models, and so we're a couple of years out from testing those models and being ready to move to those models. So having something that we pilot test and evaluate and look at more generically as how do we operate in this electric vehicle environment will allow us to be ready as those vehicles come online and in the market, as some of the vendors start to craft and model the equipment that goes with those vehicles. And anybody that's been to a trade show for any kind of technology knows that when that technology is introduced at that trade show, there are a number of people in the background looking to craft aftermarket equipment to go onto those vehicles. And so if those vehicles haven't been shopped out yet, those vendors haven't been able to look at that equipment. And that makes a big difference in terms of not just the timeline of outfitting this equipment, but it also makes a big difference in, we don't even know at this point what it looks like if we have electric vehicles that get involved in collisions and then we have to repair and replace those vehicles. And so we don't know what it's going to look like to put additional parts on those. We don't know what it's going to look like and how long it's going to take to get those types of vehicles back from the shop. These are a lot of things that we want to plan for and learn from as we're looking at the rest of the world running with these electric vehicles. So Chris, I hope I've covered some of it, if not as much as you need, and I'm open to questions if you all have questions about it as well.
Yeah, there's a ton of logistical challenges here, and it's not just the suitability to the police force. There's how charging infrastructure gets installed, and in some cases we're talking about charging infrastructure that may compete with other electrification efforts around buildings. There's just a ton of challenges, and I spent a lot of time talking about those with the chief and with Don, Public Works.
Right.
But we're working on it. We're working on it, and we're moving forward as fast as possible, and is creating
Chris,
all new connections in the city and new coordination efforts.
Yeah, and I know that we're working on, you know, renewable source energy for you know, electrification of vehicles. But I also know that that is also a work in progress. And you know, in public safety, we're planners. We want to know if we have an electric fleet and we have a PSPS grid shutdown, is that going to impact our ability to provide public safety on the street? And you know, we also want to know that those technologies are moving forward and that they're going into place. And it's not just that, you know, you all could probably tell me right now that we have plans in place to do those things, right? But I also need to make sure that we're reassuring the people who will be driving those vehicles and getting them on board with understanding what this change looks like overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just to summarize, looking back, we've made huge strides from the baseline year. We're already down 13% in our GHG emissions year over year, or since 2018, 2019. The current purchase, we think, keeps us on track for the 2025 and 2030 goals laid out by the Sustainable Fleet Policy. And actually, I would say our targets, we could even beat our targets for 2050, which would be incredible. And that's our goal, that's our mission. Yeah, we're committing to significant changes in the municipal fleet. So I think even more importantly, the city of Menlo Park has undertaken a broad strategic planning effort. It means a significant reorganization of our operational processes, with fleet decarbonization as a top priority. And you have a receptive city, a police department that is receptive to change and embracing change, and same with public works department. This is a really, really difficult problem for them to solve, but everyone's on board. So I think we're in a great a great place, and moving forward at a good in the right way. So.
Chris, can I add one more quick thing just in terms of the near term? So, things, and you'll see some of this in these upcoming slides, but, we're committed to moving forward on this, and we're committed to starting to take on some of these electric vehicles in the process. And, I think as was briefly mentioned, I'm already driving one. I called the city manager and I said, I want to be part of this. You want to be part of this team effort. I want whatever I'm driving to be zero emissions. And so I'm doing that. We have some detective vehicles that we'll be able to turn over in the near future, and we'll be turning those over to EVs, providing that we have the infrastructure to do it. And we're committed to having in the near term a couple of electric vehicles that we'll be putting in the fleet, but we would really like to be able to pilot and or beta test those first, so we know what to expect.
Thanks, Chief. So, and this is our last slide. I'm sorry, we went a little over on time there.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Starkey and Chief Norris, for all that information. So at this point, are there any clarifying questions from the EQC before we move on to take public comment? And I can't see anyone's videos right now. So, oh, Josie, it looks like your hand is raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you both for the presentation. I definitely appreciate it. I was wondering, Chief Norris, what type of EV are you driving?
So currently what I'm driving is the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which it's similar in size to the Tesla Model Y. And that's the vehicle currently that I'm driving. I don't know whether the interior of that is going to accommodate what we need to accommodate for patrol. But it will certainly, we're looking at that for our detective selections, that and other electrical models.
And was it outfitted for patrol or pursuit the way the Fremont Model Y was?
No, and just to clarify, the Fremont Model Y has not been run through the typical pursuit rating system that the Michigan State Patrol typically runs. And Michigan State Patrol for decades has been the gold standard in running vehicles like this through the paces. They have actually run the Mustang Mach-E through that type of testing, but they have not tested those Teslas. And so although Fremont has done an outstanding job of running those Teslas through a number of physical tests, they don't have that, that pursuit rating categorization to them. And so that is something that we're looking very carefully at, Ms. Gaillard, because we do want to make sure that what we're putting out on the street is suitable for that type of demand. And so we'll be watching the market carefully, and we'll be talking very closely with Fremont PD about what they've done with their vehicles. They currently haven't really put those Model Ys out on the road very much. They've been working with the Tesla Model S, which is a different vehicle. So we'll be watching very, very carefully and very closely to what they're doing.
Commissioner Elkins, I believe you have your hand raised.
Yes, I wonder if you could just tell me a little more about the F550 and what that's used for, and then also the towable compressor. What is that about?
So I'm going to promote our Assistant Public Works Director and our Fleet Manager to answer those questions.
Okay.
Just give me a second here. Okay, so we have Brian Henry, our Assistant Public Works Director, and Don Weber, who is our Fleet Manager, and who's included. All of these folks are included in the long list of names as part of the team. So take it away.
Great, thanks,
Mr.
Rebecca.
Henry.
Sure, thank you. And good question. So I'll take a general stab at it, and Don, feel free to add more details. So the Ford F550 is a medium heavy duty truck, and we use it we will use it as a valve exerciser for our water department. So within our water system, there are hundreds up to thousands of valves that need to be exercised or moved on a regular basis. And so it's heavy equipment that is installed on the back of the F550. And so that's what it's used for. So it'll drive around the city, park over the valve. Equipment is lowered down. It spins the valve open, close, data gets recorded, and then it moves on to the next valve. The compressor is something that will be towed behind any of our trucks, and that's used to provide power for heavy equipment such as a jackhammer. So when we need to open up the street to do repairs to our storm drain system or our water system, it's the towable compressor that provides the power for the jackhammer.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Vice Chair Evans.
Thank you, Chief Norris and Chris, for that presentation. It was very interesting. I enjoyed it. Chief Norris, you mentioned the concerns about the grid going down and resilience and being able to charge electric vehicles when that happens. And Chris, I assume you guys are doing an analysis of a variety of battery backup options that you could use to obtain additional resilience if and when that were to happen. Has that been part of your process as you've been looking into this?
Yes, that's definitely part of the conversation. Right now we're kind of at the early stages, and we have to walk before we can run. Mm-hmm. And we're just at the point where we are putting all this information into a spreadsheet and projecting out in what location, at what time are we going to need charging infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So that's the last month that's happened. And the same thing's happening on the building side. I mean, it's just we'll be talking about this later on, but we're doing a facility condition assessment right now, a citywide facility condition assessment. So for the first time, we'll have long-term energy data and understanding of everything that we have in the facilities. So right now we're in kind of this data gathering and strategic mode on the municipal decarbonization effort. But yes, definitely solutions like battery backup will for sure be in the mix.
And given the fact that we want to do this, that's something that we've just been, I think, working over about the last 9 days, and I'll see that these folks will kind of nod in the background really over the last 9 days, and I'll plead rookie chief on this. I don't know a lot of what we've done in terms of commitments prior to my tenure here, so just learning from that. Something that you all will find out about me if you haven't found out already. I'm huge on working in teams. I detest siloed operations, and so I've been known to break down a silo or two if need be. And so now that I know what Chris and his team are working on and what Brian and Dawn are doing in the background in terms of infrastructure for this, if it's going to help us with our commitment, then I'm part of that team moving forward as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gaylord, I'm not sure if your hand is just still raised from before. Do you have additional questions?
I do. Thank you. Chief Norris, I appreciate that team spirit and the silo comment. Thank you. 2 questions. What's the miles per gallon rating on the hybrids, and how does it compare to the non-hybrid version of those cars? And then this is not for you, but for maybe Chris and for Ms. Lucky. PCE was offering really large incentives for EV charging equipment, and I know we directed staff to apply for those for the fleet, the municipal fleet. And so I'm wondering, did the city secure any of those large incentives?
I can not speak to all of that. I can speak to some of it. For sure, I can speak to the efficiency of the hybrids because I did the analysis on that. The typical vehicle gets 6.5 miles to the gallon, and this is using the real data. And the hybrids get 10.5 miles to the gallon. So it's almost twice as much. And that's basically just the nature of how those vehicles operate with the police. So it is a significant savings to switch to a hybrid. Those patrol vehicles also get retired in 5 years. So a typical vehicle a hybrid vehicle over 5 years does what a typical vehicle does in 3 years, if you want to do the math. And on the PCE side, Rebecca, you'll have to jump in on that specific program. But we have started coordinating with PCE and PG&E on fleet. We're working with a program that hasn't even been announced yet at PCE that is offering kind of strategic advice to help us go through the construction of charging infrastructure and not build stuff that is a stranded asset, not build stuff that is useless 3 years after we install it. So we're working with the folks at PCE to kind of help us do this kind of difficult strategic projection, but no one really knows all the answers, even Phil, who's been doing this for a really long time over at PCE. It's just a market that's changing really quickly. And I don't know, Rebecca, maybe you can speak to the specific program that the commissioner was talking about, Mr. Gaylord.
Yeah, so the incentive that was available, I think it was back in December, and these years are very much blending together, but essentially the incentives ran out within the first few minutes of being opened up. And my understanding from PCE is that a lot of those were taken up by the charging infrastructure companies like ChargePoint. They've been working in the background, I think, to find suitable sites that would be ideal for these incentives. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be more offered. We are using the deeply discounted program for our charging stations at the Menlo Park Community Campus project in the Bellhaven neighborhood. So we've got 27 charging spaces using the PCE discounted rates. And we do have money in the CIP. It's over $400,000 over the next couple of years to install those charging stations for city facilities.
All right, I have a few questions as well for, I'm not sure who exactly to direct them to. My first one is on, I believe on the bottom of one of the slides, it said that there are 4 EV F-150s either on order or planned to be ordered, and then said in year in parentheses. I was just wondering, are those vehicles that have been ordered or are planned to be ordered? And if so, does the year reflect some uncertainty around when exactly that will happen?
I can answer that. Don Weber, Fleet Supervisor for the City of Menlo Park. The order bank for the F-150, they call it the F-150 Lightning, it's an EV. The order bank for those vehicles has not opened yet. So when they revealed the vehicle, we were allowed to reserve vehicles, and we actually reserved the maximum amount they would allow us at that time, which was 4 vehicles. So, and then I got emails immediately, how come you're reserving 4 vehicles? But they thought I was an individual trying to buy 4 trucks. But we've got that straightened out. We have 4 vehicles, 4 F-150s reserved for us. The order bank will open. We're supposed to be able to specify the options on the trucks and order those in spring of 2022. And if I could just back up a little bit, and I would like to add a little bit more information on the F-550. That truck, it's currently a diesel truck, and the diesel trucks are usually built to be a workhorse. And what we're doing with this truck is a lot of stop and go in our city, and it's from the get-go, it's kind of been a maintenance concern, and it's out of warranty now. And as an example, just in the last 3 months, we've ended up having to spend $12,000 in repairs on this truck. And I'd like to get it moved out of the fleet. There's no EV equivalent for this. And just from past experience, and we also used to service West Bay sanitary trucks, and they have similar trucks. They have similar problems with the stop and go. And also with this vehicle, we'd be looking at getting rid of the truck and a motorized trailer that it pulls. So we'd be getting rid of 2 vehicles for 1. And we'd be cutting down on the maintenance and repair costs tremendously with this.
And if I can ask, what's the lifespan of that truck?
If an EV equivalent or came out, that we could move it at any time of request, but normally that truck would be in the fleet for 10 years.
Okay.
And it's bordering, it resembles a pickup truck, but it's bordering on the line of a heavy duty truck.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. That's very helpful to know both on the F-150s and the F-550. My other question is about the renewable diesel. I was just wondering, what is the source of that renewable diesel?
Okay, I can try and answer that question. Renewable diesel, it's a sustainable fuel. It's made similar to the way a biodiesel is made. The difference is the processing of it. This is a much cleaner fuel. The claims are that it will lower greenhouse gas emissions up to 85%. Much more than that. We've been using it since April. I think we've purchased close to 20,000 gallons of it so far. It's a much cleaner burning fuel than fossil diesel.
I had read 90% there, Don, and that includes the embodied emissions. It's not clear to me exactly how you would calculate that for our GHG inventory, but I have been calculating it as a 90% reduction in the emissions from diesel fuel.
So is that sourced from farmed crops then? I know a lot of biodiesels from recycled oils, for example. You know which ours in particular is from?
I think similar to biodiesel, plant-based and animal fats, things along those lines.
All right, thank you both. Do any other commissioners have additional clarifying questions at this time? I am not seeing any. So thank you again to all of the speakers and presenters. So at this point, I believe we can move on to take public comment. Ms. Almendrell, do we have any public comment on this item?
Just as a reminder, if you would like to make public comment on this item D1, review and discuss upcoming city vehicle purchases as it relates to the city's sustainable fleet policy and climate action plan strategy number 5, eliminate fossil fuels from city operations. Please engage your raised hand feature or dial *9 to raise your virtual hand so I can allow you to give your public comment. Last call for public comments related to item D1. There are no public comments at this time.
Thank you. Then we can move on to opening this item up for your full EQC discussion. So with that, I open the floor to all commissioners. Oh, it looks like Commissioner Cabot, you have your hand raised already.
Yes, thank you very much. And thanks so much to the team for all coming out here and helping us understand what's going on, and also communicating that this is kind of a broader felt change in the organization as we all try to address climate change and different departments figure out how they will be doing their part. And it's really great to hear that's happening now. Chief Norris, I was wondering about maybe one of the possibilities when we see the constraints and difficulties on how do we integrate patrol vehicles in a timely fashion, and looking at the pursuit of, say, 6 of the hybrid versions of the vehicles, because you've got several vehicles right now that are 2 years past their best buy date. And what about the possibility of partnering with other cities to try to see about bringing in, say, 1 or 2 early, and having then, say, 4 hybrids and 2 more of the electrics, but in partnership with other cities, so that you have a more of a fungible fleet. If other people are, let's say you find the EVs are able to do the job, you find that very quickly in the process, like I hear they're finding in Fremont, that they find that the officers enjoy the vehicles and the vehicles perform well and they save money. They're saving a couple $1,000s a year in maintenance costs and things like that. And plus, I would imagine it creates a better work environment when you've got several vehicles around idling and you're not having to smell the fumes and subject everyone there to that problem. I'm just thinking the more we can bring these things in early, the better off we are. So is there a possibility then to partner with other cities to advance that? Is there advantage there?
So I think that there's a short answer that is somewhat of a yes in the sense of information sharing. It's very difficult to share police vehicles between police agencies. There's a branding issue with that, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But typically officers in different departments operate very differently. The expectations are different. The shifts are different. There are a lot of things that make that difficult. But in terms of information sharing partnerships, I can assure you that I had a phenomenal meeting with Chief Washington of Fremont PD, and that he and I are committed to staying in close contact as they start to use these Model Ys and understand how they are in advance of us, getting online with our own pilot test vehicle, and that. Keep in mind that the 2 Model Ys are 2 out of 80 patrol vehicles. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very small percentage. And what Chief Washington told me very directly was there are some officers that love these vehicles that will exclusively only want to drive these vehicles. And there are other officers who exclusively are not even interested and willing to start driving these yet. So, that is part of the culture change that we want to try and address as proactively as we can, which means, putting together a team of officers from our department who are working on a committee with Public Works and with our infrastructure to make sure that what we are doing is going to be culturally acceptable as possible, and do what I call developing champions within the organization, right? People who will take this idea and this cause, understand how important it is, and move it forward, because the chief can't do that from the chief's seat. That has to be done officer to officer as they're sitting at the briefing table, looking at the officer on their right and the officer on their left. So how we involve and integrate those officers into that testing process is crucial to the success of that movement.
Right, and I guess when I think of sharing, I was thinking maybe the shared adventure of partnering up with other police departments to go procure these first few vehicles. I imagine it, like you said, it's pretty much a little bespoke industry of doing the conversion from regular vehicle to patrol vehicle and having those upgraded components. But doing that with several other cities, putting in a bigger order for 6, 8, 10 total, where each department's getting a couple, might be the way to bring these in early and share the risk and experience.
I love the enthusiasm of that, but as Don and Brian can probably tell you, these vehicles are really hard to come by. It's difficult to get them one at a time, let alone 6 at a time. And there's no volume discount coming from these dealerships because they're selling their private vehicles at a high premium, and they don't need to, they don't need the discount to sell vehicles. So that makes it very difficult. But we're committed to, partnering in whatever ways we can, information sharing, and making sure that I think you're adequately describing that as a shared adventure that we're doing together, so that the more agencies that are interested in orienting themselves towards this transition to all electric, the easier it is for the culture of law enforcement to move in that direction. So we're all in to help with that.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Gaylord.
Yeah, so the one vehicle that was listed as a, I think it was listed as an EV patrol vehicle. What is that going to be, a Tesla or a Ford, or what's the plan for that one?
I can answer that. We have chosen the Tesla Model Y, and one of the main reasons for that is the vendors have already manufactured parts for this vehicle, and parts are available without having to go through all the research and development. Even though the Ford Mustang Mach-E has passed the Michigan State Police testing protocols for a pursuit-capable vehicle, there are currently no aftermarket parts built for this to turn it into a patrol car. It would convert easily to a detective's vehicle, but not a patrol vehicle.
Okay, that's helpful.
At this time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was the one who actually went and sat in the Tesla Model Y in Fremont and talked to the police officers there. And so I can speak to, just looks like a normal police vehicle with a cage in the back and the, all the lights and everything. And I just wanted to point out that Michigan State Police may actually have, because of the auto industry there, GM and Ford may have a reason to favor to exclude Tesla from its sort of certification process. So I understand that has value, but it could be sort of strategically valuable for.
I agree with you 100% on that. I agree with you 100% on that. And I know that, in Fremont's endeavor they took these vehicles out to their emergency vehicles operations course, what they call the EVOC course out in Alameda County, and they put them through the paces and they let their cops drive them. And that would be part of, what we would intend to do with our pilot process, because we would have not just, if we have one pilot vehicle, we could also probably engage with Fremont and get a couple more out there and get some officers in them. But that's part of changing the culture, right? And I 100% agree. I think that, there are probably underlying reasons why Tesla has not been tested.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Oh, go ahead.
If you don't mind me adding
please.
on.
Yeah.
There are other reasons besides just the pursuit rating to favor Ford, just in terms of overall fleet management, maintenance, and procurement. And Tesla, I know, poses some unique challenges on the maintenance front for Dawn. So it's not just the pursuit rating.
And we also have to consider the equipment that goes in these, both police personal equipment and outfitting of the vehicle. That can weigh anywhere from 700 to 1,000 pounds per vehicle, depending on how it is outfitted.
Right, and there are measures that can be taken to help our officers, but they come with a cost, not just financially, but in weight. And one of the things that I haven't brought up in this group that I'll just bring up for your consideration as well is one of the first things that police officers are taught about in the police academy is how to handle themselves in a high critical incident when literally bullets are flying, and the safest place for them is behind the engine block of their patrol vehicle, and that's one of the first things they're taught. So this is a true paradigm shift for them because there will be no more engine blocks. And so how we retrofit that and put protective gear in there to make sure that they have a safe space in the vehicle that they're driving, is something that we will have to look at. And, technology increases will help us with that along the line. Things will get lighter and cheaper. But as we stand right now, as they're still continuing to investigate and explore that, there will be, some time to really mull that over and find the right solution.
Thank you for all that color. The Tesla Model Y, Mr. Weber, when is that scheduled to, and speaking with Fremont Police, they said the S took a long time for Wayland, who I think is the company that does the modifications for patrol cars, that Wayland took, it took a long time for their first vehicle 2 years ago, but for the Model Y, it was very fast. Like they seem to have figured out a faster process for modifying those. So when would that be expected to come online, the Model Y? I'm just wondering if there's some ability to get that one on, test it. If it becomes satisfactory, then, maybe 3 of the 6 supposed, planned hybrids could be deferred another however many months to see if that was acceptable and that those could be made full EVs. That's where I'm going with this.
Well, as far as the parts are available and talking to our vendor that outfits our vehicles, Fremont has gone through the manufacturing, the research, the engineering to have those parts built. So they're available. They're on Fremont's Model Y. If I order them today, I'm not sure of the lead time, what it would take to get them, but it's not like they would have to be engineered. I know there was a lot of behind the scenes on their Model S that they went through hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it may not have come out of their general fund or their vehicle replacement, but it may have been time that was donated to the cause. But that was a lot of the upfront, the time to get the parts built on the car. I know one of the problems with the Tesla and its proximity sensors, once they built the car, they found out that the sensors on the car would no longer work. So that more engineering was involved, relocation of the sensors, recalibration of the sensors was necessary. That failed. There are 2 companies involved in that car that I know of were Whelan and Satina. And Satina is the company that built the console and the prisoner cages or the prisoner partitions, the front bumper. Whelan is mainly a light manufacturer, so they're fitting light bars to them. Did I answer your question?
My question was about the date. So when would that Model Y, assuming that the council approved the proposal for that next week or whenever it comes up, when would that go into service? Sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. The vehicle speccing out a Tesla is pretty easy. They only offer about 5 choices. Once we receive the car, so I'm guessing that would probably be 3 or 4, maybe 5 months down the road. It would have to go out to the body shop and be painted, because we can only order it in the solid color, would be black. So we'd have to have the doors painted. The roof in those cars are glass, so it would have to be wrapped inside and out. Outfitting would probably take another month and a half. We're probably 7-8 months, I would imagine, to get the car ready for service.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that we don't sort of slide back into clarifying questions at this point for the presenters, and we move on to sort of the EQC discussion right now. So I just want to briefly restate sort of what we're trying to consider right now, which is we're looking to provide advice and feedback to City Council specifically on the proposed vehicle purchases that were presented just now. So with that said, I'd like to start getting feedback from the commissioners on what recommendation we would like to make to council. And if we have specific questions, we can bring back in the presenters. They've been very helpful tonight, but yeah, let's see if we can sort of work towards a motion at this point. So would anyone like to go first, sort of volunteer what their opinion on the proposed purchases that were presented to us tonight?
Oh, yeah. If I've been recognized.
Sorry, I was muted. Commissioner Elkins, go ahead.
Thank you. I was really impressed by the presentation and the careful consideration of all the aspects that are involved here. The desire to reach full electrification of all the municipal fleet, but the recognition of the logistical problems and the situation we're in with the evolving marketplace. And so the sort of compromise that staff has come to go ahead and get some cars that will be at end of life anyway within a short period of time seems great to me. I would I mean, subject to further discussion from other commissioners, I would certainly be willing to accept the staff report and go ahead and forward it to council with our agreement.
Thank you. Commissioner Gaylord, I think I saw your physical hand raised, if maybe not your digital one, and then Commissioner Price after that.
Yeah, I also want to say I really appreciate the spirit, Chief Norris and Mr. Weber and Chris, Mr. Starkey, that you're bringing to this. I am getting the sense that we're, this is starting to kind of trickle down into the organization and that there's a commitment to making this shift. I think one struggle I'm having is that we, I think it was about 2 years ago, this came up and, none of the people probably presenting tonight were here then, but that's when we kind of hoped that this was starting then. And so if there's a little bit of like impatience or frustration, that's where it's coming from. So one of the questions I have is if we're 7 or 8 months away from having the Tesla Model Y, could we get that, have it be in use for a couple of months before deciding, if it's 6 hybrid SUVs, could we buy 3 and then defer on the latter 3 to see, because if the Tesla Model Y is a huge hit, the officers like it, there's uptake. It's, from Fremont, not everyone's had the opportunity to review this, but after visiting the Fremont and checking out their Model Y, they have a lot of material online showing that it actually exceeds the fossil fuel cars on a lot of dimensions. They did sort of a side-by-side comparison of the two. So if it were similar, where it sort of exceeds expectations and it's, the officers like it, it seems like it might be a missed opportunity to lock in 5 years with all 6 EVs, when maybe we could switch over those next, maybe half of them to full EVs after, maybe 9 months, 7 months to get them, a couple months to try them.
Was that a question for one of the specific presenters, or is that just a point for discussion?
I'm throwing it out there as an idea, and if any of the presenters have a reaction or a reason why that's a terrible idea, and if any of my fellow commissioners have a reaction, I'm interested.
Okay. Well, we can let the presenters jump in if they want to weigh in. Otherwise, for now, let's move on to Commissioner Price and then London.
What Commissioner Gaylord shared was what I had thought to share as well. Both parts of her comment. So I'll just stop there.
All right. It looks like Chief Norris, you have your hand raised. Would you like to weigh in on the idea that Commissioner Gaylord suggested?
I'll make a quick comment on it, and I think I'm shut down on my video right now, which is fine. But but to me, all I'm interested in is making sure that we're able to proceed with the care that we need to proceed to really thoroughly vet this out. And the other thing, Commissioner, that I really want to leave a little bit of latitude for is I believe that there will be some interesting new models that will come onto the market that might be a more ready fit for patrol operations. We're really, we're retrofitting something that's a private vehicle and trying to see if it will work for patrol. And so I have concerns with counting on that while holding back movement of other vehicles that we could reduce emissions with, not entirely, but partially. And that would be my concern, is I just want to make sure that we have the time to make the right decision, put the right measures in place, and be fully prepared to make that move, because we're committed to making the move. We want to do it correctly.
Thank you, Chief
Yeah.
Norris.
And
Oh.
just to clarify, I just wanted to say, I appreciate that. And I think what I see is there's option value if it's possible to delay 9 months. And I understand that some of the vehicles are in need of maintenance and et cetera. But if it were possible to have some option value on 3 of the 6, it might be at the end of the 9 months, the decision is, nope, we need the EVs. Sorry, we need the hybrids. But it could be, that the decision is actually these work. So anyway, it was just suggesting an option value as opposed to wait 9 months and then definitely get the EVs. There would be that decision point.
Totally understand. And Dawn or Brian, if one of you wanted to talk about kind of how that works with the chess game of moving vehicles in and out of the fleet, I'm open to that as well. But my thoughts are that as long as we are moving forward, we are moving forward. And if we have to move forward a little bit patiently, I know I don't have the same 2-year angst that you do, Commissioner, and so I recognize that. But I do want to move forward, correctly. So that's my only thought.
Yeah. I can't raise my hand, but can you hear me? This is Don.
Yes, we can hear you.
So my biggest concern about that and putting multiple EVs in at the same time is we have another project in the works, and that's the infrastructure. And currently we don't, and I don't foresee it in the near future being readily available to charge multiple EVs.
Okay, so to me, that's a problem that needs to be solved as opposed to a constraint that, we just have to accept. And maybe I'm being unrealistic there, but I think, yeah.
Commissioner London?
Thanks. So I certainly agree with what's been said. Like, we need to get super creative here to kind of make up for lost time and see if we can cut emissions faster. I know that we saw one graph that showed that if we just wait for the market to come along, we can have a steeper downhill curve on emissions later in time. And yet we kind of need to be the role model for cutting emissions starting now. We actually need to be driving that market. And so I encourage us to be out in front of it as opposed to waiting for the market to catch up. And anything we can do in terms of delays of purchases to see if we could maybe make an EV work instead sounds great to me. I was going to talk about the wrap on the vehicles. So one of the huge benefits of the city having any EVs, and in fact, we already have some, is to educate the public that the city's taking leadership on this. So I would encourage us to urge the city to take a look at or to fund research into what have been the most effective wraps. And by wrap, I mean the kind of outside it's not the paint job, but it's stuff that's like a Klingon that can say something about this vehicle. It can operate as a message to everyone who sees the vehicle. And our Menlo Park vehicles are widely visible. They're all over the place. So we have this huge opportunity. It's basically a billboard, and I want to make sure we take advantage of that. Currently, the EVs that our city has are not very clearly marked as such, and it's hard to know that we're doing that, and it's a great thing that we're doing.
Commissioners Cabinet and Vice Chair Evans, I don't believe we've heard from either of you yet. Would either of you like to weigh in now with your thoughts on the proposed vehicle purchases?
Sure, I'll weigh in. I definitely appreciate that movement has started in a serious way, but I have that 2-year delay angst going on as well. And, I think some of the things we're doing to be, prudent about the fleet are interfering with being bold and prudent about climate change and demonstrating that we're driving the change and that we're part of it, because I think there are magnified benefits to putting more EVs in prominent roles, like in these patrol cars, as soon as possible. So to me, it makes sense for the city to, on several of, say 3 of the 6 vehicles in question, to make 3 of them EVs and to spend, if it's a little extra money doing it, a little more than we could have gotten away with another way, go ahead and put, insert those EVs now, accommodate them now, accelerate the charging infrastructure so that it's available within 9 months, et cetera, and just get these out there. That is, the kind of environmental leadership advice that I would provide.
Vice Chair Evans?
Yeah. +1 on that. I mean, I think I appreciate everything you have done, and it's very forward thinking. And yes, if there's a way to defer some purchases or create that option value so that we can have a chance of getting in a Model Y and showcasing that and putting wraps around it, I'm supportive of that.
James, we're having trouble hearing you.
You're having trouble hearing me right now?
Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, it looks like Mr. Starkey has his hand raised.
Thanks. I just wanted to kind of weigh in because we're focusing a lot on these 6 patrol vehicles, but of the projected to be retired in the next 4 years, there are 50 vehicles in the fleet. And in the projections that we've outlined there, 33 of those 50 vehicles, we're talking about converting to EV. So, and a lot of that is in the police force, just not patrol vehicles. Patrol vehicles have specific characteristics that that make it difficult to do this kind of early conversion piece. But there are a ton of vehicles across the fleet that that will be demonstrating leadership on the EV front. So I know, seeing 6 gasoline consuming vehicles in this order is not what anybody wants to see, not what I want to see either. But I do believe that is the right thing to do at the moment.
But Mr. Starkey, am I right that's great to hear that 30 whatever vehicles are intended over the next 5 years, I think I heard, to be EVs. But then I was just hearing from Mr. Weber that there's no kind of plan for where is the electricity coming from for the charging, or there's no view to that being a possibility. So those 2 things don't my sense is we need to kind of push forward aggressively and do these things that we think we can't do to set us up for, because maybe it's going to take us 2 years longer than we think if we start now aggressively coming up with a plan to have the charging. I don't know. But if we wait and say, oh, we'll figure out charging in 2 years, my concern is that charging isn't available for 4 years. I mean, that's what's happened so far, right? Is we thought we were starting on this 2 years ago, and here we are 2 years later, we still don't have charging. We don't have a plan for charging. So I'm just noticing that's could happen again.
Are you asking me to speak to that, or go ahead?
Yeah,
Rebecca.
So I hear your concerns, Commissioner Gillard, and yes, the infrastructure definitely needs to happen in order to make the patrol vehicles a reality in the next couple of years. But I do want to just make sure that we're clarifying that we have been doing some work around infrastructure planning. We've had Public Works analyzing the capacity of City Hall, and there's the ability to add quite a few charging stations that could really help. We just need to figure out, how we're going to locate them in the police corral where the police cars are, or, they were generally looking along the side where you currently see charging stations. And we have added charging stations, not enough, but we have been making, as Chief Norris said, slow and steady progress on this. But again, hear your concerns.
Commissioner Elkins?
Thank you. I guess I just want to reiterate my original statement after hearing the opinions from other people. And I see what you're saying, Josie, but I do think that those particular vehicles, those 6 police vehicles, are a real special case, and we have to kind of defer to the chief on that front. And as Mr. Sharkey just pointed out, Mr. Starkey, sorry, there are many others that are sort of less specialized that are going to be converted to EVs. And at the same time, I also agree with Commissioner London that we really should take advantage of the opportunity to showcase those vehicles, and they should really have lots of ribbons flying off of them or whatever to show everybody that these are EVs and we're doing this, and the whole community should be doing it.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, I'm done.
Okay, Commissioner London?
I was just wondering, I'm sorry, I've lost track of this, but when are we going to get the next report on this question of EV charging for our public fleets? Like, I was thinking about the corporate yard. I don't think there's any solar panels there right now. And I wonder if, there are other sites that are owned by the city that might be options to host the charging, where we could gain a lot of power from the grid, from the solar panels.
Yeah, so we do have solar panels on the corporation yard. It was part of our power purchase agreement. Yeah, so yeah, I know sometimes it's hard to see, and it is kind of tucked way behind the street, but they are on the roof of the corp yard. And so I think the question of I'm sorry, can you repeat it again, Jill?
Just charging infrastructure. I know that's peripheral, but it's also a necessary precursor to these vehicles being added to the fleet.
Yeah, so I think one thing that we could, bring back in the next few months is kind of what, an informational item on what the status is of the infrastructure, kind of walk through it and kind of determine, are those steps going to be adequate? Because there is a lot going on in this space. We've mentioned the PCE, charge point. These other vendors are also doing kind of installs, basically kind of like a PPA. That's what I've learned through the Menlo Park Community Campus project. So there's a lot of different ways to slice and dice the infrastructure to get there. So I would just offer that we can return probably in a few months to kind of talk through the infrastructure.
Yeah, I just would urge us to do that as quickly as possible. Again, we've kind of lost 2 years in this area. We've been added a little bit of charging infrastructure, but I do recall hearing in the past that, we simply don't have enough electricity right now to do this in downtown Menlo Park. And yet we're going to be electrifying everything. So if it's time to, upgrade our grid or add some more power, we should probably just go for that. Think of not just the silo of the vehicles, but the fact that we're trying to electrify everything, and see how we can best do that right away, as soon as possible, so that we can make sure these vehicles have charging.
I just want to weigh in here. I don't think I've given my thoughts on it yet. So I feel like probably like a lot of you, I struggle with really recommending purchase of any fossil fuel vehicles at this point in time, but I appreciate the very clear communication we've gotten on what the constraints are with these particular vehicles. And it seems like there's been a good faith effort with every individual vehicle we've been discussing tonight as to what hopefully rapid solutions will be. And with that said, I think it sounds like, as we're discussing right now, a big potential future bottleneck is the charging. And as Rebecca just mentioned, that's something we'll hopefully be discussing in the coming months. But maybe we could make a recommendation to endorse this purchase and then just attach our recommendation that while this pilot program is going on, that focus be put on developing the charging infrastructure for the rapid turnover of the fleet that Mr. Starkey just alluded to, the 33 vehicles within the next 5 years. I'm encouraged by the fact that it's not the turnover rate for these patrol vehicles, he says, is 5 years. So we're not committing ourselves to infrastructure that will go past 2030 at this point, but we really want to make sure we're set up for the right solutions down the road for charging a much greater number of vehicles. So anyway, all that to say that I think I would be comfortable endorsing the proposed vehicle purchases that have been made here. And like I said, sort of attaching a recommendation that we really take the time while we're rolling out this first pilot to get things in order for charging of a much more electrified fleet very soon down the road.
I would second a motion. If that is a motion, I would second it. And if it's not a motion, I would second a motion like that.
Any other comments on that, or can we move ahead with making a motion something similar to that? Any emendations that anyone would want to make?
I don't know how this works, because usually we're pretty unanimous, but I just feel like I want to put forward the proposal that I was that I mentioned earlier. And I know, I do it with trepidation, but because I feel like we need to push further faster. And so I don't know if that would be a competing motion or what that would be.
So just to clarify, what you proposed earlier is that fewer than 6 vehicles be purchased right now, so that the pilot program, which the estimate was would take maybe about 9 months, once feedback is received from that, some of those other vehicles could be purchased as EVs rather than as hybrids.
Yeah, that there would be a decision on 3 at that point, whether to go with the hybrid or the full EV.
Chief Norris, it looks like you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just very quickly, I didn't put a 9 month on. That was a recommendation of this commission, and so I just want to be clear on that. I don't know that 9 months will do what we need it to do, and so I'd love to explore that further. I'd love to talk with Fremont about that and find out what their pilot program really looked like. But I think 9 months seems to me to be a very short period of time, during which we may not be able to generate the kind of information that we would need to make a conclusion that we're looking to make on that. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. The outfitting of that vehicle might take a considerable, procurement and outfitting might take a considerable amount of time as well. And I'm concerned that we will lose time on the front end, that we won't have enough time on the back end to give you good conclusions, and that might kind of constrain us a little bit. And so I just want to put that out there for consideration.
And I'm totally flexible about what that decision window is, because once we make the decision to buy the hybrids, that's locking us in for 5 years. So if we needed a year even to get the vehicle made and service, and then for your analysis, I'm willing to flex on that in what I'm proposing.
The question I would have then, though, is what is the impact on the city if the delay is 3 vehicles now and the other 3 that are essentially being asked for now, let's say they come into play potentially even a year, like 18 months from now, right? Because it would be a year to implement them, and like give or change 6 months on. Anyway, I don't know exactly what the timing would be, but it could be anywhere from 18 months to 2 years from now.
I think Brian's answer.
Yeah, I can address that, and that's a really good question, because it has to do with the vehicles that we're working to replace are the oldest vehicles in our fleet. So their warranties have expired. They're over 7 years old. We replace them typically every 5 years. And so instead of performing our routine maintenance, which is kind of the staff level that we have in fleet is to do routine maintenance, now we're doing repairs that aren't covered by the warranty. And we don't have the staff to do that. And so we're sending them the vehicles back to the dealership, where they're then in the queue to perform major repairs that we're unable to do. So it just reduces the number of usable vehicles in the patrol fleet.
And I guess, what does that mean? So it reduces the number of vehicles available, which totally makes sense. What does that actually mean? I don't know who the best person to answer that is, but just as a novice in this area, how should I think about that as a citizen?
So I'll take a stab at it, but Brian may have a better answer from a fleet maintenance standpoint. But for us, we are constantly rotating vehicles in and out of the fleet, which is why there's a large number of vehicles in the police fleet, because it's a 24/7 operation. We need to keep our staffing on the road, right? But there are issues that come up with vehicles that aren't even vehicle issues. They're technology issues. The computer might go down, and it's an internal IT issue with the vehicle, not just like we can't just pull the computer out and swap in a new one. And so sometimes, and that type of thing is happening right now. So we have certain vehicles that are out of commission that we can't put on the road. And so in addition to that, I think what Brian's talking about is we will then have super old vehicles in the fleet that we won't even be able to use to swap in sometimes when we need to substitute something in, or that we won't be able to put on the road to run up the mileage and get them ready to turn over because they have significant repair issues that we can't service as we would normally service them because they're out of warranty. And so that the whole chess game of moving vehicles in and out so that we keep, the operational vehicles on the road and ready to go, and we have vehicles that are ready because our shifts run 12 hours, so 6 to 6 and 6 to 6, and then 6 to 6 and 6 to 6. It's a constant flux, and so we need to make sure that we pay attention to what equipment we have so that we can do that. I have concerns about having vehicles that we're running kind of a vacancy with, and we won't be able to include them in that strategy.
Commissioners London and then Mr. Evans, unless Commissioner Price, did you have an additional?
Sorry. I just had one. So I just want to repeat back to make sure I'm hearing it. So it sounds like this could affect long-term the ability to turn vehicles over, and short-term also the ability for the city to predictably provide this sort of services that depend on the vehicle usage. Is that relatively accurate?
Yes, I think that's fairly accurate. And look, if we get to a point where we're pilot testing something and we want to try and accelerate, I'm certainly game to come back to the commission or come back to the council and say, hey, we'd like to make a modification here and accelerate this idea because it looks like it's working really, really well. And I'm fine with that. But we're really flying a little bit blind with this whole project. We want it to be successful, but we want it to be correctly successful. And so I'm reluctant to take too many blind steps forward, not knowing, right? There is no conventional vehicle that is being sold as a patrol electric vehicle right now. We are looking to try and find the workaround so that we can make this happen. And as we do that, look for on the horizon vehicles that we might be able to plug and play as patrol vehicles that may come on the market that we can make a quicker move on. So, I am all for looking forward on this, heading in the right direction, making these moves, closely monitoring what we're doing with something that is a completely new product that our officers are going to have to get used to. And if we are starting to get positive traction, then to come back and say, look, let's rethink this. If we think we can accommodate it, then let's move faster.
Thank you, Chief Norris. Commissioner London and then Vice Chair Evans.
Yeah, I was just going to propose something along what the chief just said is that instead of waiting now, what if we went ahead and got these vehicles, but made a provision that we could alter the normal turnover time and turn over faster if and when we find that EVs are a viable option. So I don't know if do we enter like into some sort of a lease, or do we actually buy these cars, or does anything bind us to the 5-year tenure of them, or could we sell them sooner?
Yes, we could sell them sooner. The 5 years is based on mileage, repair, and industry standard to replace patrol vehicles. But we purchase them.
Thank you. Vice Chair Evans.
Commissioner London, that was a version of what I was about to say. I was thinking of it in terms of what if we bought the 6 hybrid now, because we need them now. And then if 9 months, 12 months down the road, we find that the Model Y works really well from the perspective of those who are going to be using it, that we have a provision that gives extra budget for the police department to, at that point, acquire that. And if there's some financial resources that need to be shifted around, we ask council to support that effort. Even though it's just one car, it's an important market signal. It's an important signal to show Menlo Park's leadership overall. I'm curious what that cost would be. Menlo Park City Council must have some pots of funds available to enable that. Do you have an extra place to park it, Chief Norris, if you were to acquire an extra vehicle in all of this? Maybe you'd sell one sooner, but what would that look like?
We would make it, if we came up with that as that's our viable next step, that we need to kind of go plus so that we can figure out how to head forward in a faster direction, then we would work with Public Works and we would make that all work out. And so that may be that, sometimes there are vehicles that maybe are more ready to turn over before their true lifetime than others. And we just, we find a way to make that work. I mean, we're always looking at the overall, fleet in general and saying, do we need to swap one thing for another and make this ready before that, because we have someone that's moving into a specialty position, or we need to create some other type of strategy or whatever it is. So that would be a conversation with us and PW and just making it work if it came to that.
And I guess I wonder, so commissioners, I guess then, is there a way that in our motion, we could put a piece forward that we're asking the council to, if there's an extra cost to Public Works or the police department, to allow for that, even if they wouldn't otherwise have retired a vehicle sooner, but now we want to acquire the Model Y and swap it out, and there's a financial implication to cover that, to ensure that if the Model Y, it is in fact viable, that we don't need to have another conversation about then to allocate funds to get it, that those have potentially been set aside. If that scenario exists, that we can move forward and acquire it and retire one of the other ones. Does that make sense?
Commissioner Cabot and then Gaylor.
Yes, thank you. I was just looking at the way this agenda item's listed, and it has us reviewing and discussing the upcoming vehicle purchases. And so we've definitely been doing that, but it doesn't look like we have an action here. It doesn't look like we have to make a motion about something. And so, and I also feel like we aren't the final deciding body on fleet purchases. So we are the body that advises the council on the environmental issues and impacts around decisions they make. And I think we could, through the chair and chair reports, we can pass on to the council some of the things we're noticing, and that is what I'm hearing is basically a strong appreciation for staff's engagement in the new different ways to look at departments meeting these climate challenges and integrating decarbonization into their regular procedures. It feels like we're at an awkward time in the buying cycle versus availability cycle when it comes to patrol cars. And so that it looks like, this is a kind of a difficult way to save emissions based on one of those graphs that Mr. Starkey presented earlier that had the flat top of emissions continuing by deferral and then reducing by electrification more than they would have just gone down the slope by using hybrid vehicles. So I think we're able to pass the message along to council that we see not only the value of decarbonizing the fleet, but also making these decarbonization moves visible to the public in order that the public understands that we need to be moving down this path as quickly as we can. And it may be, unfortunately, we just can't do any better than hybridizing 6 of the vehicles at this round if we are caught in an awkward spot, it being 2 years later than those vehicles reached end of Best Buy.
So sorry, what was your suggested motion from that?
Well, I can't tell from the agenda if we need a motion or not. So that's up to others. But I'm thinking that we need a way to provide advice to council about. I think it's really balancing the normal needs meeting of the city through regular modes, and then this conversion to decarbonizing as they do it, and with the associated sharing of the information, say the wrapping of cars, and to show that yes, these cars are low emission cars as we get them, like that first patrol car that comes in. So anyway, I'm at a point of not knowing if we have to make a motion, and is that how do you interpret this one?
I don't know that we're obligated to make a motion, but I think that's sort of what we've been discussing, whether or not to make a motion, making a recommendation on the suggested purchases. Commissioner Gaylord?
Yeah, I just wanted to share one piece of information that's in my decision-making, which came out of a conversation with the Fremont Police, and actually doing some research into what they'd done was they actually took possession of their Tesla Model Y in July, and it was on the street, I believe, by the end of September, meaning I know Fleet Manager Weber was saying it might take 7 to 9 months. And, maybe my research is wrong, but at least from Fremont's perspective, from their experience, it seemed to take about between 2 and 3 months to go from taking possession of the car to having it modified and on the street. So I think that's in the back of my mind, thinking that it probably will happen faster and we'll be getting experience with that car faster. I hear what my fellow commissioners are saying. I think I may be the only dissenting vote on this. I'm going to stick with, I'd like to see us, defer on the first 3 and reassess in 9 months. And if it takes a year per, the chief's needs, then I could be flexible on that. But I understand it sounds like the rest of the commission is kind of moving toward consensus around accepting a recommendation.
Sorry, I see. Oh, Vice Chair Evans, I see you have your hand raised.
So I guess my recommendation was sort of a hybrid of those, which is move forward with getting the hybrid now and then asking the city to help fund the acquisition of the Model Y sooner, faster than the budget initially would have allowed them to do. So that if and when it becomes viable, we can move on it quickly. The police department can move on it quickly.
So I guess to Commissioner Cabot's point, I don't know that we're obligated to make a motion tonight, but I think a motion is sort of an opportunity to, you know, the whole point of this cap action number or cap goal number 5 for greening municipal operations was to set an example for the rest of the community by making visible changes in the assets that the city has the most direct control over. So I see a motion on this item as an opportunity to, first of all, endorse the efforts that have been made towards greening the fleet, to make a recommendation that the groundwork be laid to accelerate the proposed transition, and also to, as Janelle was suggesting, emphasize that these changes should be advertised, just again, so that the community as a whole, which is where the bulk of the emissions comes from, can see that the city itself is setting an example. Commissioner Cabot. I believe you're muted still.
Sorry, thank you. I was also wondering, after these 6 patrol vehicles are purchased, when is the next purchase of patrol vehicles?
There are just about every year, there's patrol vehicles cycling in and out.
Could we get a, not at this meeting, but maybe at the next meeting, could we get a better sense? You know, because when you said there's 35 or whatever the number was coming up in the next X years, could we get a more detailed view of that? I'm not trying to micromanage here, but it would help give us context for some of these questions.
Yeah, I think that's something that we can definitely do with the commission, and Mr. Starkey can provide that. He's been working, quite lengthy at producing a very large Excel spreadsheet to look at the purchases and how they look going forward. So yes.
Great. And however this goes forward, I would like to suggest in whatever motion goes forward that there'd be some sort of more frequent reporting back to us about, the hybrids were purchased, in 6 months, or how's the pilot going with the one Model Y? Like, some more feedback for us would be helpful, more frequently.
Noted. Thank you, Commissioner Gillard.
So it sounds like maybe in our, like I was saying, in a motion in which we're emphasizing making sure the groundwork's being laid to accelerate future deployment. If this is on roughly a yearly cycle of these vehicles coming up, we sort of emphasize that with the pilot program being made here, that we have the resources necessary in terms of EV charging or whatever it is, in order for the next purchase to potentially be all EV if the pilot program is successful.
Can we also add in potentially the additional provision of funds to acquire the Model Y sooner if the pilot proves fruitful?
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't include. I guess I figured that was all resources necessary for rapid deployment would include funding necessary, but that could be something that's specifically mentioned to the funding necessary to turn over the fleet faster than its otherwise natural lifetime.
Well, it might deviate from the existing budget. So if that piece can be allocated, then it would give the police department the flexibility to jump on the Model Y if and when the pilot pans out.
And then Commissioner Gaylord, maybe to your point about more frequent reporting, maybe that's something just to take it off of staff's plate, something the Transportation Decarbonization Subcommittee could try to regularly check in on the status of these purchases and report back as a staff report. I think I'm currently the sole member, but maybe somebody would like to join the Transportation Decarbonization Subcommittee. We could split that workload a little bit. So with that said, do we want to go ahead and move forward with a motion at this point? Something akin to it sounds like all the suggestions that have been made in terms of a recommendation or our support for the proposed purchases, either potentially with the recommendation that hybrid vehicles be, some of the hybrid vehicles be deferred or not, and then steps be made to accelerate future deployment as well. I don't know if anybody out there would like to make a motion. I'm not seeing anyone. I don't know if, oh yeah, go ahead,
I
Commissioner
would
Price.
make a motion. So I'll make a motion I would be supportive of moving forward with the planned or the proposed purchases for the fleet, with the idea that if the pilots are proved to be successful, we would move to essentially adopting EVs in place of hybrids that were purchased sooner rather than we would otherwise, in order to increase that number. Right, so I don't know if that's like a very clear motion, but basically what I mean is this: I am in favor of a motion that supports moving the purchases forward, with the caveat that if a pilot for patrol cars was successful, we would be able to replace any cars purchased that are not EVs, that are patrol cars, that they could be replaced with EVs that are patrol cars as soon as possible, basically, before their life cycle would otherwise end.
So before, if I could just interject. So
Yes.
I think what might be good with the motion is if we could include it as part of this screen, so that we're all able to have clarity on what the EQC is recommending, if that's helpful too. So we might have to ask you to repeat a little bit, Commissioner Price.
I can do that. That is not a problem.
I'm trying to figure out how to do that too. So
yeah. So okay.
Yeah, I'll put it in the notes here.
So my motion is this: I put a motion forward to approve the recommended purchases, while additionally recommending that any vehicles purchased for patrol or otherwise that are not EV purchases made as part of this grouping of vehicles be converted to EVs as soon as any pilots have been proven successful for vehicles of that type.
Sorry, I lost track in there.
That's okay. Where'd you lose
Not
me?
good at
I'll
this.
go back. That's okay.
Approves the
So-
recommended purchases while additionally recommending that additional vehicles purchased.
That as soon as pilots are proved successful for any classification of vehicle not in this purchasing grouping, but that's not an EV. So any vehicle in this group that's not an EV, if a pilot program is proved successful, we quickly go back and change any vehicle that's not an EV to an EV from this grouping as soon as that option's available.
So early replacement, is that?
Early replacement, that's the right phrasing. Yes, thanks, Rebecca.
We pursue early
replacement.
Early replacement. Sorry,
As soon as,
misspelling
that's
everything.
okay. as soon as pilot programs prove successful.
Okay. Yeah, that's right here. I would say one thing about that is that we would still probably at that point have dirty non-hybrid patrol vehicles in the fleet that we would replace before we would replace the hybrids. So you would probably first replace those older non-hybrid. So we would replace the highest emitter in the fleet before we would replace, the hybrid.
That makes sense. I was wondering if maybe could add a couple friendly amendments just to reflect some of the things the other commissioners said. And I'm trying to think how they fit into the wording as written out here, but I basically want to reflect that we capture, and when we're saying pursue early replacement, we're really talking about making sure that the EV charging and funds are necessary for early replacement or accelerated turnover of the fleet. And then also to Janelle's point that we emphasize that zero emission vehicles purchased should be advertised to be made visible to the community if possible.
I also wanted to recommend or propose a friendly amendment at the start of that motion. It might be best, since we're an advisory body, to say recommend council approval of the purchases. In that we don't need to approve them. We're not an approval body for this, I don't think. But we can recommend council approval. And then I definitely agree with Mr. Starkey about what feels like the way to optimize fleet emissions with a a finite set of dollars is to always be looking at where you can deploy your dollars to get rid of the highest emitters. And it might not be your most recent hybrid purchase. It might be the older non-hybrid that you want to displace and get that one out and off the road. So it's kind of, I have a feeling like we're just at a spot where the city is, where when they do this transaction, they will hold these vehicles to the end of their useful cycles. But a year from now, when they're looking at a similar portfolio of purchases, they may be prepared to have much more electric now that they've gotten rolling on this and they know our opinions and they'll hear council's opinions. I just have this feeling like we're at a part of the cycle where this little train has left the station as far as being able to electrify it at this point.
So do we have, I think that what you were just saying, Commissioner Cabot, the pursuing early replacement, I think sort of hopefully captures what you were suggesting, which is that the optimization always be done to remove the highest emitters with what resources are available, rather than the last in, first out sort of strategy.
I'll just point out that doesn't seem like it's different though from what they were planning to do anyway. So
that's what I was gonna say. That's my concern.
I think we're kind of back. Yeah, we're back to just the proposal.
Then Josie's points just sort of stand on their own, which is like anything we agree to recommend, as soon as we do it, it becomes a fleet in the vehicle, and it becomes a vehicle in the fleet that's not an EV. And so there you go.
So Commissioner Price, given that this was originally your motion, would you like to amend that in some way?
I think that I'm not sure. I think where I stand is I think I completely appreciate the perspective the chief raised, as well as the fleet manager, around the necessity for safety and the vehicle, to make sure that these vehicles are actually able to perform the duties required of them in the service the city needs, right? And at the same time, I think, while I agree in spirit with it makes sense to always replace the dirtiest vehicles in your fleet, I think the spirit of what I was trying to say was, okay, we don't want the city to have less access to services because there are vehicles that we're not replacing because EVs are not available. But the spirit of what I was trying to say is, I'm willing to replace them with hybrids because EVs are not available. But a year from now, if EVs are available, I don't want those vehicles on the road for 4 more years because they happen to be less dirty than others. If that's the case, then I'd rather say, fine, then replace another 6 with EVs as soon as those EVs become available. Because otherwise, we're not actually making any dent in the greenhouse gas emissions on any kind of faster time horizon. And in no way are we making up for the 2 years of delays that we've had. So I suppose the amendment I would make to my own motion is I would say, I'm okay approving this so long as we rapidly accelerate the vehicles that are being replaced. And if we're going to pick the dirtiest, that could be even better. But then I want to see us replace 2 or 3 times as many vehicles in the fleet as soon as the EV pilot programs prove successful. And I don't want to wait for the end of life cycle for those items. And I understand there may be financial consequence for that. However, given the disproportionate impact of the emissions from patrol vehicles, I think it should be a top priority for the city to replace those as soon as possible. So let me say it again. What I would include as my portion is that I would approve the proposal as it stands with the other friendly amendments that you mentioned earlier, James. In addition, I would say that in order to have my support, this proposal would need to acknowledge I would expect as soon as pilot programs for EV patrol vehicles become approved, I would like to see the city replacing at least 50% then of the patrol fleet. I'll leave it to you guys.
I second that.
Are you, can I, a question on that?
Clarity, even 50% of the purchase order in 2023, 2024 is what we actually outlined in
Is
our
that
projection.
50% of the entire patrol fleet? That's what I'm suggesting.
Oh, the entire fleet.
Correct, because at that point we would have been waiting for, what is that, 4 years? So I'm trying to find a way to have the EQC be able to reflect the urgency of the issue and the time delay, make up for the time that we've delayed, which in point of fact would mean we'd have to replace a greater number of vehicles because the total emissions is pooling. The greenhouse gas effect becomes worse over time. So we essentially, the longer we delay, the more vehicles we have to replace faster. And that's why I'm suggesting this.
So you're recommending accelerating the replacement of patrol vehicles to replace 50% of the entire patrol fleet at the time of acceptance of the pilot vehicle. At the time of, is that right?
I like the way you phrased things, Ryan, in terms of saying that this is, we're only recommending this proposal be approved because we understand that alternatives don't yet exist. And once they do exist, we should be willing to take the financial penalty of our delay in order to transition things over as rapidly as the situation calls for.
Correct.
Sorry, if I can just interject for a second. Nick Figueros, I believe you have your hand raised if you had something you wanted to add. Sorry for the delay in getting to you. Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Payne. I've had the great opportunity to observe and listen in on this conversation. And one of the things that's particularly helpful to city staff is very actionable sort of recommendations. And I think that we're there with all of the feedback. If the chair would indulge me, I have sort of summarized what I've heard in 3 sort of bullet points that staff could then transmit to City Council that I hope incorporates the spirit and the intent here. I don't by any means want to I just offer that as a resource to the extent the chair desires.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So the recommendation to City Council would be that the EQC, the Environmental Quality Commission, considers city staff's recommendation to City Council on fleet purchases for fiscal year 21-22 and supports the recommendation. Second, that the EQC recommends the City Council direct a 6-month pilot project, EV pilot project for the police patrol vehicles. and that staff report out on that outcome and identify opportunities and challenges that may exist at that point. And then finally, that the EQC recommends, based on the outcome of that pilot project, to consider accelerating the replacement of fossil fuel vehicles with electric vehicles, all to happen in 2020, in calendar year 2022, so that we're prepared for 2023 purchases.
Ryan, how do you feel that reflects the motion you were?
Thank you, James.
Anyway.
I think, thank you, Nick. I really appreciate it. I think that captures it well, with the one exception that I would like to put a more aggressive. I think that what I heard from the commissioners, at least I saw in head raises, nods, was a more aggressive commitment in terms of time to the replacement. So rather than saying accelerate, I think to your point, Nick, it's really helpful when we put clear parameters out there. And so I'm not attached to 50%, but I do think I'd like to put a percentage out there of the entire patrol fleet that we would like to have replaced on that, you know, in a reasonable timeline. But I think just saying accelerate could mean we did it 10 days before we said we would. We don't know. So I'd really like to see us be a little bit clearer on that. And if no one else is gonna, you know, I'm happy to put numbers out there, but I think they should be extremely aggressive given the delays we've seen to date, not because the city's not serious, but as we've pointed out, because there are no reasonable or feasible alternatives.
Commissioner London?
Yeah, so I would propose that instead of talking in terms of the number of vehicles, that we again tie this to gasoline reduction or emissions reductions of the entire fleet, and let the fleet manager sort out what's the best, most effective way to get there. So right now, the commitment is 5% cut in emissions a year from a 2018 baseline. And so if we wanted to speed that up, you know, the idea would be to change what that commitment is. But I feel like just asking them to replace certain numbers or percents of vehicles when it's not tied to how much gasoline they're using isn't, we're like losing an opportunity to really focus on what's important in terms of emissions.
So what would your suggestion be for what to change the gasoline reduction target to?
I don't know, like for right now, I think, you know, I'm not entirely sure if we're on track for it. I saw that one slide, I think, said we had cut, or we were going to be cutting 6% from a 2021 baseline, which I don't know if that's better than 5% from a 2018, but you know, if we wanted to get to 0 by 2030, we kind of have to start doing 10% a year. I mean, we can do the math, whatever, you know, we could structure it as, you know, it's lighter now and more extreme towards the end of the 10-year period. But I think the goal is to have no emissions from our public fleet by 2030.
So what if we said that based on the outcome of this EV pilot project, which will give us the tools we need for a much more rapid cutting of the emissions from the fleet than hybrids allow, based on if the pilot is successful, the target be increased to 10% below the 2019 baseline per year, which 10% over roughly 10 years should get us to a 2030 target if we're sticking with a fixed baseline of 2019.
2018 was the baseline. I think 2019 risked having COVID kind of get in the way, although it probably doesn't. Yeah, I mean, that'd be fine by me. I don't know what if how big a cow the public fleet folks would have about that, but I mean, that is really the goal, right? Is to have no emissions from the public fleet by 2030.
Any other commissioner thoughts on something like that?
Could we hear from the presenters what they might think of that solution? Chief Norris? Others?
I'm fine with us trying to be as progressive as we possibly can with it and moving as quickly as we can. I just want to, reiterate the fact that what we're talking about with what's in front of us with a pilot project is retrofitting a privately driven vehicle for public fleet use and doing something that would have a practical side to it that almost no other agencies are doing now, and committing to populating that in our fleet faster than any other agencies are doing it in the country. And I just want to make sure that we're clear that we should be careful to not do this wrong. And so I want to make sure that we just stay over our skis on this and not get too far in front of them, and do this correctly. And I know that it was mentioned that a 6-month pilot project, somehow it went from 9 months to 6 months, and I'm all in for doing this pilot project, but I want to assess it, and I want to talk to Fremont, and I want to find out how they've done it right so that we can help replicate that and do it right. And I don't have all of that information right in front of me.
So one question would be, Chief Norris, how long would it take for you to sort of have those conversations and come back to us with, I think this is how long a pilot would take?
It's a brand new endeavor, and so it's not the only thing that's on our plate, but we could prioritize it and and try to come back as quickly as possible. And how often do you all meet?
Once a month.
Once a month. So I would certainly be able to at least give you a ballpark idea and an update in a month of what we might be looking at for a pilot project, how long it might take, et cetera. And as I said, I'm all in for doing the pilot project and getting this, on the road, so to speak, pardon the pun. But I do want to make sure that we do this carefully and we do this right. And there is nothing that exists right now that we can just go purchase and make an electric police car out of. And so this is all very, experimental ground, and we want to do this correctly.
So with everything you just heard, Commissioner Price, how does your motion stand now? Or how would you like it to stand?
So I agree with what the chief said. I think his comments resonate with me in terms of, I am not trying to influence the timeline of the pilot program. And then the efficacy of it. What I am trying to do is accelerate our adoption of EVs. So what I care about is how quickly we adopt EVs, as long as they are viable for the purpose the city needs them to serve. And in this case, we're talking about patrol vehicles. So as long as that is clearly stated in the motion, as the chief is, I think, articulating very well, I still stand by my motion. And if we need to, going back to what Nick had said, if we need to adjust the 6 months, to me, it's about the efficacy of the pilot program and ensuring that we are doing this right, and we're not getting too far in front of our skis. I don't know if that can be in the motion, but there you go. That's what I'm in favor of.
In terms of tying a concrete number to what you were saying for accelerating purchase of EVs, how did you feel about
with it being a percentage, like what Joel said? That's great too.
A percentage of gasoline or of patrol fleet?
Oh, sorry, I see that. What Janelle said, I'm okay with it being either. I think the goal is to reduce GHGs, and the way we do that in the fleet is by making sure that cars like the patrol cars that are running 24/7, as the chief said, are EVs as quickly as possible. Does that answer your question?
Sort of, but I think we still don't have the concrete wording for the motion that we need in order to get a second and then take a vote. Okay. So
I'll go back to what Nick said. I think the changes to what Nick said now are regarding the language around the pilot program. It should be about the efficacy of the pilot program and ensuring that implementing the pilot program is a priority, not about the fact that it's, for example, 6 months long. That wasn't my goal. And then in regards to the adoption of EVs as quickly as possible, we can change that and make it the increasing the percentage GHG, accelerating the reduction of GHGs by the city fleet. Is that what you had in mind, Janelle? Yeah.
So then what if the first bullet point, the 6-month pilot project, were removed, since the pilot vehicle is already a part of what we are proposing here? And you're saying based on the outcome of that, which in the second bullet point will be regularly, we'll hear about the outcome of it as it's going, increase the fleet greenhouse gas reduction target from 5 to 10% from the 2018 baseline average.
That sounds good.
Yep, and I would second that motion.
All right. So then it sounds like we've landed on a motion and a second.
Sorry, just really quickly, I apologize, Chair Payne, and I hate to be another cook in the kitchen, but just to clarify, Commissioner London was referencing the 5-annual fossil fuel reduction commitment in the sustainable fleet policy. It's not the emissions necessarily, it's the gallons of gasoline consumed. Just to make that clarification, I just wanted to know if you're wanting to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's an important clarification.
Okay.
Yeah. So modify the final point to, instead of greenhouse gas reduction rate, to fossil fuel consumption rate or gasoline consumption rate, from a 5 to a 10% reduction.
I'll second that. Do we need a second?
I don't know if Commissioner Cabot's second stands now that it's been modified. If our original motioner and seconder are content with it as written, we can move ahead with the vote, I believe.
I'm happy with it. Thanks.
Me too.
Is it okay if we read it all out before voting? It's quite small on my screen.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Don't know how to make it bigger.
Yes.
Why don't I share my screen so I can make it bigger, Chris? Is that okay?
Okay.
Sorry.
Right. You know,
Thank you.
I'll read it out. It's fine. The recommendation is that City Council accept the proposal as it stands, with the addition that staff report out on the outcome of the police patrol pilot, specific opportunities and challenges. Based on the outcome of the pilot, they consider accelerating the purchase of patrol EVs into the fiscal year 2022, and that the net fossil fuel consumption reduction rate in the sustainable fleet policy be increased from 5% per year to 10% per year reduction, overall reduction. Sorry, I've kind of changed the wording there on the fly, but is that correct?
I think we have to reference the 2018 fuel consumption. So it's 10% of that number every year.
Yeah, from a 2018 baseline. I think it's in one of these slides we have what the provisions were, and we could just change the 5% to 10%.
I might also consider taking out the word consider that you had at the beginning, towards the beginning of that, Chris. At that point, they would consider accelerating. I think if the pilot pans out, the recommendation would be that we definitely accelerate and that we move resources, financial resources within the city accordingly. Do others feel comfortable with that?
I do, because, yeah, as an advisory body, this whole thing is a recommendation.
Mr. Starkey, if you could just add an annual,
There you go.
it's annual reduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
What are we waiting for?
So I think we just need to add an annual, so increase the fossil fuel consumption annual reduction rate.
So is that an instruction from Mr. Starkey? And can you give
Yes.
him a line so we can keep the meeting moving
Yeah,
along,
it's
please?
the third line. So the last part of the recommendation, increase fossil fuel consumption reduction, should be annual between consumption and reduction. Just so we're clear that it's an annual reduction rate.
I think someone else is controlling my screen right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it said Nick Figueros. Are you Nick? Are you?
You should have it back.
Oh, I have it back. Okay. Sorry. So I need to change this to annual here.
Add the word annual in between consumption and reduction in the final line.
Yeah, and then I think Candace can then do the roll call.
You guys see that?
Why don't you go ahead,
Yes.
Ms. Almendrell, and do
Okay,
the roll call,
great.
please.
So the motion on the floor is from Commissioner Price, second by Commissioner Cabot. The roll call vote as follows: Commissioner Elkins,
Aye.
Vice Chair Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Gellard,
No.
Commissioner Cabot,
Aye.
Commissioner London,
Aye.
Chair Payne,
Aye.
Commissioner Price.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Candace. So now at this point, maybe we want to take a quick 5-minute break before moving on to agenda item D2. Is everyone in support of that? All right. So we'll take a 5-minute break, reconvene at 8:30, and then we'll move on to agenda item D2. Okay, I think we're missing just Commissioners Cabot and Gaylord right now. All right, it looks like we have everyone back now. So with that, we can move on to item D2, an informational presentation on the next steps and scope for climate action plan strategy / goal number 1 to electrify existing buildings by 2030. Our sustainability manager, Rebecca Lucky, will introduce this item and give the presentation.
Thank you, Chair Payne. So I have Commissioner Evans too, who's going to be also presenting some information that she's working on with below market rentals. And so I'll go first. So we didn't get a chance in September to debrief on the City Council meeting from August 31st regarding electrification of existing buildings. So I wanted to kind of circle back and talk to the commission about what the plan is going forward. We've met with the City Council Subcommittee, which consists of Vice Mayor Nash and Councilmember Willison, and also with the EQC Subcommittee that is Commissioner Cabot, Gellard, and Evans. And so we kind of walked through a few different items on the takeaways and the next steps from the direction on August 31st. So as most of you know, there were 6 recommendations presented to the City Council from the Environmental Quality Commission, and all of them were accepted. One was put on pause for drafting an ordinance to ban the use or ban the installation of natural gas appliances through the permitting process. But we did get a lot of green lights to go forward. And what we're looking at is what can we achieve in the next several weeks with the staff resources that we do have going forward. And so I'm going to share what was discussed with the subcommittees that I just mentioned and walk you through kind of what the ideas are, and happy to answer any clarifying questions as a result of that. Okay, so everyone can see my screen, all right?
Yep.
Great. So again, this is a chunky bit of work to tackle this CAP strategy. So again, this is just really for our next several weeks looking and then building upon these actions of what we can do beyond what we're scoping out right now. And so one of the areas that was identified from the City Council was to assist low income or moderate income community members to electrify. And so this was EQC's recommendation, number 1, about funding, and then number 2, about having a turnkey program. And so there's a couple of things happening externally. Peninsula Clean Energy has launched their home upgrade program in Menlo Park. So I was able to sit on a few meetings over the last few weeks with PCE, and also looking about how we can connect the home upgrade program with existing programs that are going on to help low to moderate income homeowners, get the health and safety upgrades that they need, whether it's roofing, whether it's insulation, and then having this focus on electrification as part of that package. So back in May, the city did approve a contract with Habitat for Humanity in San Francisco, and it basically provided funds to Habitat for Humanity to upgrade or rehabilitate 20 homes in Menlo Park. And so I was able to meet with PCE and some of the folks from Habitat and talk through how we could leverage those programs and how the home upgrade program could be used for electrification of those homes once they had their immediate issues addressed. So that's one aspect of this. And then there's another aspect where the city owns actually 4 below market rate rentals on Willow Road. And so the idea here is for the city to really launch a demo project to convert these city-owned units to all electric and really build that experience in the community, showcase that we're able to do it with our below market rate rentals because we have about 400 in the community that are serviced by other property managers like Mid-Penn Peninsula, and then potentially see where we could build upon that experience to expand it. Because I think as we noted through the cost effectiveness analysis that, you know, this is a really big area of concern in making sure that residents have the access, the resiliency that they need to protect themselves from increases in bills. You know, even if we're using the most efficient equipment, it's also looking at how can we do more to protect that and potentially lower their bills even further. So what we're looking for in November is to identify a project manager to lead this effort. And of course, as I mentioned, collaborate with Peninsula Clean Energy and BayREN to leverage any of the programs that they have to participate in the home upgrade program. So another area that we're looking at is addressing barriers in the building permit process. So Commissioner Gillard and Cabot have been really active in kind of providing information to us about, you know, what ways we can improve upon that process. We've got some follow-up meetings with the commissioner in our building division to talk about ideas and ways we could potentially remove any permit barriers, expedite, and even have an incentive for projects such as major renovations or additions to include electrification measures. So our work for November is really to research and develop a framework to address those barriers and find a pathway forward to launch. Sorry, I keep moving the screen. And then the last area for November's work is outreach and education. So one of the actions or the direction given by council was to begin formal engagement. And so we're looking at leveraging opportunities to provide larger scale education and outreach. In the next agenda item, I'm going to be talking through some of our resources, but we will be hiring a management analyst for the sustainability position early next year. And the scope of their work would be to really help launch this effort for CAP 1 as well as the climate action plan. But we do have a couple of other things going on in the meantime. So we've got we're going to update our website to include information for existing building owners of how they could electrify, kind of dispel some of the myths or questions that have come up through this process. And on Monday, I'll be giving a presentation on our climate action plan, and Diane Bailey from Endless Spark will also be tag teaming on that to talk about why it's important to address climate change at the local level and kind of tee up a conversation for Commissioner Gillard and Cabot and Menlo Spark in November to really talk to the library, those folks who could participate in the library virtual forums about how they can electrify. So with that really concludes what we're doing now. We'll keep returning to the Environmental Quality Commission as we move forward in this process, but the goal is to really see, you know, these immediate actions going forward and to continue to build that momentum.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lucky. So are there any clarifying questions from the EQC before taking public comment? Again, this is an informational item, so there isn't a motion that we'll be making later on, but there's an opportunity now for clarifying questions.
Rebecca? Okay. And so I know there's only a few weeks in November. Could you just touch on when staff, you and others might anticipate beginning on the process of figuring out how we're going to collect and pass the UUT increase to voter approved levels, kind of where that piece is at and what a timeline for that might look like?
Yes, that's a great question, Commissioner Evans. I think where we're at right now is scoping out what the funds would be used for. So what kind of program are we targeting and how much of that would it be? Because we do have these other external programs happening to help the low to moderate income community members. So I think it's just understanding, again, where we can plug in those gaps and designing the program itself, and then getting to the funding question.
All right, any other questions from commissioners at this time?
Just a process question. So I know we'll clarify question, public comments, and then will we have a chance to sort of discuss and give feedback, or is this our chance to do that?
Rebecca, do you?
Yeah, I think clarifying questions is good, and then the public comment I think would be next, and then feedback.
All right, so then it doesn't look like there are any other clarifying questions at this time. So then we can move on to public comment. Ms. Almendrall, do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we do. Community member Levin, I have given you the ability to speak. Can you unmute yourself and test your microphone, please? Community.
Hi, sorry, I wasn't trying to make a public comment. I was just listening. So if I press the raise hand button by accident, I apologize.
Thank you. I will go ahead and lower that for you. And community member Bailey, I have given you the ability to talk. Can you unmute yourself and test your microphone, please?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Fantastic, wonderful. Please proceed with your comment.
Good evening, commissioners and everyone. So thank you so much for the report backs here. It's great to see all of the work underway and collaboration with PCE and other entities. I'm really happy to hear all of these efforts. I think that time is of the essence, and I want to urge you to reconsider the schedule to bring back the UUT to council, because it's really important to get that UUT readjusted at voter approved level so the city can start accumulating funds that will be necessary in the not too distant future to fund all these wonderful projects that are being queued up. I think the longer that we wait, the less of funds can be collected. And I guess I'm a little bit not understanding the reason to delay, because we really do need the funding for these low income programs. And I understood a concern to protect low income households from cost increases. But at the same time, I think there's also an interest in protecting those same households from the indoor air pollution and the other negative consequences of remaining on gas. So I think those have to be weighed carefully. And I hope that we can move forward with the appropriate level of urgency to meet this moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, Community Member Bailey. Are there, just as a reminder for those who would like to make a public comment, please engage the raised hand feature or dial *9 so I can allow you to speak and you can give your public comment to the Environmental Quality Commission. Once again, this is public comment for item D2, informational presentation on next steps and scope for climate action plan strategy goal number 1 to electrify existing buildings by 2030. Last call for public comment. There is no more public comment. I return the meeting to you, Chair Payne.
Thank you, Ms. Almendrall. So again, this was an informational item, so there's no action, though it sounds like Ms. Lucky said that Commissioner Gaylord, you had some feedback you wanted to provide, so we can discuss briefly, but yeah, let's try to keep it brief since we have one more agenda item with an action to get through after this.
Sure. So first, I appreciate staff coming back with some concrete actions. And I like this idea of doing some things, in the near term, like in November, you're trying to push forward a few kind of quick actions, which I like that. I'm finding myself wanting to know what's the medium term, what are the medium term actions and what are the long term actions and how does it all fit together? Coming out of the private sector and a big project like this with multiple people involved, we would do a project plan with a Gantt chart and we could kind of see what are the milestones and, how do these near term things fit into the subsequent, medium and longer term. So I'm wanting to see that. And if there's any way for staff to come back to us with, it doesn't have to be super detailed, but just some way to understand where these actions fall into the whole scope of the work. I would like to see that. And I also agree on the UUT comment that was raised by Diane Bailey. The council direction was to move forward on that, meaning there were 3 council members who said they would like to have that come back to council. So I understand it's a little bit, maybe staff is seeing as a chicken and egg, like you want to know exactly how much and exactly how it would be used. I'd like to see us recommend that council raise the UUT. The money will be used. And my understanding is with the UUT, it gets voted on every year, once a year by council. So it's already been voted on, I think 3 months ago. So it would probably, if they voted on it next month, it would come up again in 8 months and they would get the chance to either take it back to the lower levels or keep it at the higher level. So it's going to be something they get to vote on frequently. And I would like to see us recommend that they start accumulating those funds now. And if for some reason we just accumulated more funds than we thought we were going to use, then they could take it back to the lower level as soon as 8 months from now. So I'd like to see us push forward with that. The other thing for my fellow commissioners to know is this is a way where Menlo Park is leading. Right now, other cities have kind of moved ahead of us in moving policy forward on replace on burnout. Half Moon Bay has proposed a really nice ordinance that's going to have a first reading in November. So whereas our council said, slow down, we're not ready for that, they're moving ahead. Los Altos Hills is voting on a, and that Half Moon Bays includes an end date for natural gas in the city of 2045, like setting that date certain. Los Altos Hills is moving forward with a date, setting a date certain for the end of natural gas in their city. I think a vote is tomorrow. Anyway, so other cities are kind of moving ahead, I think, on pieces of this policy, which is awesome to see. The way we're leading is in this piece, which is finding a way to fund electrification for low-income families and to not leave anyone behind. So that is a way that we are still, other cities are looking to us like, oh, that's a really innovative approach. Let's see how they do it. So I think the sooner we can prove that out and show how it's done, there's leadership value in that. Making electrification equitable and affordable for all. And so I hope we can move forward quickly on that, getting those pieces in place and demonstrating that a council can, take the actions that it needs.
Thank you, Josie. And Vice Chair Evans, I see you have your hand raised, and I'm sorry, I realize now that that you had some slides that you were going to present as well. Ms. Lucky, can we still have her present those, or?
Yes, definitely. But I think we need to probably have public comment after the presentation just to ensure the public's had a chance to weigh in. And then I just have a couple of just to tag on to Commissioner Gillard's feedback. Again, appreciate that. Our next steps really is to complete the work for November and return back to the subcommittees to have that discussion about, what are the next steps, where are we moving forward to, and the, I think there are opportunities. The UT is definitely one option. There are other potential sources of funding too that could be considered, and I think, I know it's hard, it's difficult to kind of narrow down, but in order for us to be fiscally responsible, we need to understand what we're going to use the funds for and specifically how it's filling a gap. But that doesn't mean that there's not innovative ways due to urgency, but that's just what I would foresee as being the most helpful in getting the funds that we would need. But open to all those conversations with the subcommittee and Menlo Spark to have those conversations too.
Yes, Vice Chair Evans.
We can't hear you.
Angela, you're on mute.
Oh my gosh, how many times can I do that? Okay, my slides will come later and I'll keep them really brief, but I wanted to comment on this. Thank you as staff for putting this together. I think it's really helpful. I personally am really excited about the fact that you guys want to move forward so quickly on those units on Willow Road. I think that that'll be a really meaningful pilot. So thank you for prioritizing that. I guess I also agree on the UUT. I mean, I think we do essentially know what it'll be for. I mean, we know that there's somewhere between 1,400 and 1,500 housing units in Menlo Park that are getting care assistance for which this UUT would largely be targeted. And most of those are single family homes. And I think that that's, essentially what the money will be for, give or take some at the margins with some of these programs. And I think that, again, the sooner we start collecting those funds, the sooner we're going to have those funds sitting there waiting for us, right? So we can do it as quickly as possible. And I think given that, 3 council members voted in favor of moving that forward, can we in November go to council and say that, we'd like to have you vote to increase the UUT? I mean, can we keep it as simple as that?
Yes, if only it were very simple. So I think the trade-offs too, and I tried to note that in the table that I shared with you yesterday evening, is, I mean, we've got a couple options. I mean, if we wanted to work on that means that we're not going to be able to do some of the other work on that table that I've described, because this is going to take a good amount of effort to do in the next couple of months. And again, we do need some clarity about the program details, the exact cost, in order to, again, to fulfill like our financial responsibilities to ratepayers and taxpayers as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's perfectly fine if the Environmental Quality Commission wants to do that. But I think we get into this situation where we're not moving the ball on very actionable items. And setting that stage for the future. So if we're able to do these BMR units and kind of understand what the costs were, what programs we were able to access, I think it's going to give us a really clear idea as to how we can launch that, how we can, potentially tap the UUT funds in going forward.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I hear what you're saying. There's a finite amount of time that can go into this, especially in November. I guess I'm just thinking about the UUT and the language of that. And maybe it's a question for the lawyer, like how much specificity does the city actually need to have up front before approving it to go up? My understanding was that there's a lot of leeway as to what that money could be used for. And so if we gave it a general pot of funds for electrifying our lower income community, do we need to know specifically right now exactly how that will be designed? Or can we keep it more general and pass it and move from there?
Yeah, I think those are really great questions. I think that's something that we can really discuss. So I believe the council subcommittee and the EQC subcommittee are going to be meeting the first week. Well, I'm going to be scheduling that meeting the first week of December. So this can definitely be an agenda topic, and we could, return to the EQC and have the conversation of what that might look like going forward.
Okay. Would it be helpful at that time to have some feedback from our city lawyer, just to clarify what I was just saying about, how much specificity do we need to beforehand to get this passed? How much leeway does the city of Menlo Park have with those funds?
I mean, I would just really advise us to probably have that conversation on what the next steps are, through the subcommittee, and certainly tap in the city attorney. I think our resources over the next few weeks are pretty tight. But it's pretty much a race up until the holiday, and we do have quite a bit on our plate right now. I've got the renewable microgrid coordination, we've got a few other things, and our next conversation is going to be talking about how can we get resources to leverage to move things quicker.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cabot, and then do we want to do Vice Chair Evans's slides?
Sounds good to me. Thank you. So I wanted to build upon Vice Chair Evans' comments about the UUT. My picture of it is more general. It looks like it is a tax collected normally that just flows into the general fund. And then, decisions are made to use money from the general fund for all kinds of purposes. So raising the UUT simply makes more money available. And my thought is it can be done without designing every nuance of where the money needs to go, especially with things like the recommendation for accelerating fleet turnover in order to decarbonize the fleet faster. That's another utilization of money from the general fund. So there's plenty of things that need money from the general fund to produce the kind of community leadership to help the community see where we're going. And so my recommendation is to not make the UUT issue a large work issue, but just to strip it down to its essence and present it to the council that there is a recommendation to discontinue suppressing it down to the 1% level in order to let it rise to its natural level, the voter approved level. I think it's 3 or 3.5%. And then to find the ways to utilize those funds for good public purpose. And I imagine they would find that in the future, when they do that work, that decarbonization will be the good, a lot of the good public purpose for that fund. Anyway, so my basic advice is not to make the UUT project a large hour effort, but to strip it down to its essence, hand it to council and let them decide.
I would second that. I know it's not a motion, but just the spirit of it.
Angela, do you want to go ahead and present your slides now?
I can pull them up for you.
Mine's going to take us in a tangent, so I don't know if we want to wrap up that piece of the conversation, especially since we were hearing from public comment about the urgency of the UUT. I mean, could we? I'd recommend we sort of come to some sort of conclusion about that, frankly, if possible. I'm happy to present the slides whenever, but it's going to take us in a different direction. Rebecca, how do you feel about that? Like, if what Tom was saying, like, is there a way to design this recommendation back to council that, essentially makes it, I don't know, a 20-minute exercise of, sorry, I don't mean to, you guys work hard. I don't mean to minimize what you're doing. You guys are doing a lot, but just keeping it simple and saying, you guys have said you'd like to do this. We support you moving forward with a vote and having those funds be generally available and seeing what they come back with. They may not ask for further specificity.
Yeah, so this agenda item was intended to provide an update after, having some discussions with the subcommittees, and we did touch on the UUT. I mean, I think we're in a position of, if you want us to work on the UUT, then we can't do the other work that's being proposed. And it also affects other work that we're doing around the microgrid and other aspects. I think there is an opportunity if you want to bring it back next month to discuss it in advance of the subcommittee's meeting in early December. That's certainly an option, and we can transmit the recommendation to City Council. That's another option.
When we meet in November, you mean? And
Yeah,
then-
so it'd be November 17th.
Okay, and then have it go before council in December. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Potentially?
yes. And then I would, so I think the issue is so if we're bringing items back, it requires staff analysis, whether it goes to the EQC or the City Council. And I think at that point, it starts to delay the other work that we're trying to accomplish in sustainability. And again, it's the City Council directs the work, but I just want to make sure that we're clear on what's doable in the next few weeks, and how urgent this item is compared to the other items I've just presented, and the other work that includes MPCC trying to kick off the EV infrastructure incentive program and other areas of our work.
I mean, I think it's a difference of a month. So I think based on what I'm hearing from others, I mean, I'm fine with it potentially going before council in December. If we can make it maybe earlier December, so they could potentially vote on approving it. What do the others think?
Do any other commissioners want to weigh in now? Again, we're not taking a formal action for anything here. So I feel like we've gotten what the information we need to know for now. And so if anyone else wants to weigh in on whether or not this should be an agendized item in November where we can make a recommendation, feel free to jump in now.
Yes, I think we should.
All right. Again, I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Rebecca.
I would then, so this is going to be challenging. So again, it takes staff time to prepare information we need to bring things forward. And so I think the chair and the vice chair, happy to kind of figure out the agenda for next month. It's a very difficult timeline and something's going to get delayed. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. Again, since we're not taking an action right now, I think we all have the information we can get right now. And then, yeah, Angela, Rebecca, we can discuss this later when we talk more about what the agenda setting for the future will be.
Let's discuss it further. I agree.
Yeah. So with that said, Angela, then do you want to return to your slides?
Sure. Rebecca, do you want me to call mine up, or do you want to share your screen with the slides from the agenda?
Either one of us can do it. Might be easier if you do it, but I'm happy to step in.
Yep. One moment, please. And then do I have the ability to share my?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm okay. All right. And I'm going to keep this very brief because we're already at 9 o'clock. So please know that this is just intended to be an update from all of you about what I'm working on. And I have Diane Bailey of Menlo Spark joining me in this effort. So please know that there will be many more details coming your way, but it's just sort of to let you know at a high level the kinds of things that I'm working on right now. So Diane and I are exploring. So first of all, this is outside of city staff work scope. So using my role in the EQC to align resources and make connections between this company called Block Power, which I'll talk about, and some nonprofit organizations in our low-income community, 2 of which are providing below market rate housing, and 1 of which is providing key services to families, especially in Bellhaven. So again, this will not take any staff time. It's something that we're doing with Block Power. So I'm going to go really quickly through this first one. Block Power, as most of you know, provides these turnkey retrofits with electrification for all buildings on the block, which is why they're called Block Power. The idea is they can electrify and retrofit any building, multifamily, single family, churches, schools, and they want to do this in a way that it creates meaningful climate benefits. And they want to prioritize those who have historically been left out of energy innovation. They began in Brooklyn, now they have an Oakland arm. They're actually very well funded now. They have venture capital and private investment, and are not hurting for business, but have told us that they would prioritize Menlo Park in all of their efforts because they do see us as being able to create a very meaningful precedent for the rest of the state, if not the country. So that's exciting. There currently, I have 3 possible partnerships in the pipeline, and I'll go into more details about what those, since we haven't formalized the contracts yet. I guess I'm somewhat hesitant to sort of give you the names because I don't want to put pressure on those organizations yet, but there's a lot of enthusiasm. Below Market Rate Housing and an organization that provides services. If both of the below market rate housing pilots were to move forward, it would mean probably about 60 housing units, so 60 families, ranging everywhere from 1-bedroom apartment to 4-bedroom apartments. But any of these 3 pilots, I think, would be a meaningful next step. And the idea is that this will create meaningful climate benefits, health benefits, safety benefits, all the things that we've talked about are benefits to electrification with no upfront costs. And the whole thing would be cost neutral or even result in some cost savings to building owners. The pilots in Oakland have been getting about a 40% reduction in their utility bills, and that utility bill savings is then offset by a monthly fee to Block Power. So that's how it works financially. So I'll just stop there. It's exciting. We have some potentially very enthusiastic partners with large presence in Menlo Park. So I'll keep you all posted on how all of this moves forward. That's it.
Thank you, Angela. So again, we will need to take public comment after this item as well, just because we should have beforehand. But are there any clarifying questions from other commissioners then before we move on to public comment? I'm not seeing anything. So Ms. Almondral, are there any public comments for this item?
Okay, so once again, we are taking public comment for item D2, informational presentation on next steps and scope for the climate action plan strategy goal number 1 to electrify existing buildings by 2023. Last call for public comment on item D2. There are no public comments at this time. I return the meeting to you, Chair Payne.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we're on to our final agenda item, item D3, review and discuss the presentation on proposed additional staff resources for implementing the 2030 Climate Action Plan. So our Sustainability Manager, Rebecca Lucky, will introduce this item and give us the presentation again.
Thank you, Chair Payne. Let me make sure I've got everything here. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So I just wanted to cover basically some of our milestones that we've made in 2021. And this has been quite a journey, and looking at how we are able to get ourselves into acquiring more resources to help with implementing the climate action plan that was adopted in July of 2020. And so the 2021 milestones is that we were able to scope out the work for 2021 with the City Council back in April. The budget was approved in June, and council did direct staff to return with additional resource requests to support CAP implementation. That budget approval also included, as I mentioned in my last presentation, an approved additional one full-time employee, which would be a management analyst to support the climate action plan implementation. And so we've also been able to complete the cost effectiveness analysis for existing building electrification and moving forward on the policy prioritization by the city council, which went over in our last agenda item. And I don't want to kind of debrief because I know it's late in the hour, but just what we're working on over the next couple of months is our demonstration project and working on our permitting processes. And Ms. Almendrel also presented the progress report to the EQC. In September, we did transmit that report to the city council. It showed that we weren't on track to meet our 2030 carbon neutrality goals. I'm sure it's not a surprise to this group, and that additional resources are needed. So what we have as current resources that we're able to utilize, we've got the sustainability manager, myself. We also have engaged with 2 consultants to augment our staff resources. We've got Ms. Candace Almendrel, who's here in the meeting, to assist with increasing our EV infrastructure. She also supports the CAP progress report that we do annually. And then we've got CAP number 5, eliminate fossil fuels from city operations. And you've met Mr. Chris Starkey tonight, who's working in that area. And that really aligns us with the scope of work that the council directed back in April, which was to work on CAP number 1, building electrification. That's been mainly my priority. And CAP number 3 and CAP number 5, and also the ongoing work of reporting and monitoring. So, and again, as I mentioned, we have an upcoming position that we're going to be hiring for, a management analyst, and that position will support the sustainability manager, myself, with CAP implementation, help to coordinate that public outreach and engagement, and help with administrative tasks, such as the EQC agendas and minutes. So what we're proposing as a result of the progress report and just identifying some key areas. So this is one, I would call it one phase of the resources that we need, but not definitely the end of the resources that are needed. But one thing that really came out from the progress report and that we learned, about what different departments were working on as far as resiliency was that there is an extreme need for a climate adaptation and resiliency position. And that position could really provide additional support to address sea level rise, kind of connect the dots where the gaps are, kind of be the point person to talk to the community and stakeholders about sea level rise issues and how the city's addressing it and what regional partnerships we're making to leverage our protection against sea level rise. And then weave together existing plans that address a climate adaptation and resiliency. So at the state level, there's a lot of retooling some of the state's existing policies around the general plan. So there's updates to our local hazard mitigation plan that now include climate adaptation, and it's got a lot of work in that about education, about outreach, how to prepare the community for the expected climate impacts that we're going to experience over the next couple of decades. And then we're also updating our safety element in the general plan. So out of these plans, there's going to be work that's going to fall out that's going to need to be implemented, and a point person is definitely going to be needed to have a coordinated effort. And so really the position would just have the ability to be able to work between departments, outside agencies, and nonprofit organizations to kind of pull everything together and implement CAP number 6. So as I mentioned, phase 1, so another phase really is going to happen with the goal setting process. The city council sets their annual work plan process, typically January through March. And then we've got the 2022-23 budget. So there's opportunities in there to increase resources. And so if we look at CAP 1 as an example for electrifying existing buildings, it's looking at, okay, in several weeks, where are we at and what do we need to move forward in this area? Do we need a project manager? Do we need specific permitting staff that can really help with this implementation? I think the work that we're doing now in CAP 1 is going to help feed into what additional resources we do need when we are going to council regarding the goal setting process and the fiscal budget for next year. And then there's other elements too. And so, they're part of some of the barriers to electrification included people feeling very uncomfortable about their ability to rely on the grid. And so there could be an opportunity to really look at energy resiliency from a community perspective, and really tap into what people are thinking and needing in this time of extreme change where you have power outages. And then supporting equity as well. That's another very big element. Again, coordinating, connecting the dots. So it's going to be quite a tall request, I would say, in the second phase going forward. So for tonight, what's requested from the EQC is potential support for a recommendation to go to City Council. Probably not the 1026 because the staff report's already due. But I would say early December, after we hear your feedback and kind of really nail down the details of the position to present to City Council. And in addition, to ask for an additional $100,000 in annual contract services to support the CAP. So some of these positions, whether it's the management analyst, they're going to need to work potentially with consultants to kind of carry out work. And so that kind of helps set us up for success in getting us moving forward on some items while we're waiting to hire staff that we may need. Because so I think a key thing to look at too is the budget was approved for the management analyst in June, and we are in almost November, and we still don't have a person in the seat or in the post, and we're not likely to get one until Q1 or Q2. And so I think there is this gap period that we need to use contractors or consultants for, so we can still move things forward while we're awaiting staff to take their posts, new staff. With that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. So do we have any clarifying questions from the EQC before we take public comment on this item? Yes, Josie.
Yeah, so I I got one new position for adaptation and resiliency, and then there was another line item that said like CAP 1 through 6 resiliency equity. It seemed like you were thinking about asking for 2 positions, but then your slide said 1 position and $100,000.
So for the proposed going the second phase of resource request.
Can you go back to the slide?
Sure.
There was a slide where you said, where you laid out what the resiliency and adaptation person would do. And then underneath it, there was another set of things that said CAP 1 through 6. So the slide right before.
This one?
That one, yeah.
Yeah,
Potential.
so yeah, no, so I don't mean it as those are the 2 positions. I mean, looking at CAP 1 through 6, what additional resources? So even for CAP 1, it might be 3 different types of resources. We might need, building division staff. We might need someone that does energy resiliency, either at neighborhood level or just for individual support in the community. And then more of like the policy kind of person that can kind of work on bringing forward and keeping track of what's happening to move policy forward. So, and that would carry on with CAP items. So we would review all of the CAP measures and figure out, okay, and understand what the council priority is too, because again, the council priority for 2021 was 1, 3, and 5. And so if they're open to including all 6 of the CAP action items, then that's a more robust conversation of how to fill the resources needed to implement those measures and the scope of work.
Okay, so it might be more of a timing question. Sorry, I'm just confused. The 2022-23 budget, is that what the proposals you're trying to make? Like, we have to start making those now, meaning like in January, we need to know what we're going to ask for the 2022-23 budget. Is that right? Or is 22-23 like a year from now we need to decide?
No,
okay.
It is for the 2022-23 budget.
Okay, but it's not, you're not saying that bullet doesn't equal a person, you're telling me?
No, it's definitely more than one. I think I think part of it's understanding the council annual work plan process and what's prioritized and what is included. And then from that point, once, if there is a desire to kind of look at the scope, look at the things that we need to do, then we can get the resources identified and scope them out for the budget that's upcoming.
So it sounds like you definitely want to ask for one person, and you want to, the second bullet point is like, we may want to ask for more, but we have to kind of see where the wind is blowing with the council. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So I think an immediate need right now is the climate adaptation or the climate resiliency and adaptation position. And a lot of cities are looking at this as a position. I think Menlo Park would be ahead if they looked at it. So I think this is an emerging position that is happening amongst cities. And there is this aspect where there's a philosophy that it can be done under this is the person that's also trying to mitigate under one hat. And the work streams are very different. It doesn't mean that the positions can't work together, but there's a lot of other aspects in order to manage it effectively and be successful. And so this would be probably a very big advantage as far as leadership for the city to recognize that these are 2 different work streams, mitigation versus adaptation.
Commissioner Elkins?
So my question was along the same lines as trying to get my head around this that Commissioner Gallard was going after. So from your discussion with her, I've gathered you're asking for right now this one position, the resiliency position. And then what you're talking about here, that on the slide that we're looking at, cap number 1 through 6, that's just, you're not asking for anything right now. You're just asking us to recognize that there's more out there and there's going to be more need, and we're not going to take any action or make any recommendations on that at this point.
Correct.
Okay. And so would these be employees or contractors? Or would it matter?
That's a good question. So the climate adaptation and resiliency position would be staff. And the other request, I think it might be a mixture of consulting versus in-house staff to do the work. There is definitely efficiencies by having in-house staff because there's the access issues. There's the other kind of technical and administrative tasks that go along with having to coordinate schedules and things like that when you don't have access to the same systems that the city employees do. So, and to answer your question, Commissioner Elkins, it's looking at, again, what the city council is looking, and I'm sure that the Environmental Quality Commission is going to provide some advice, on the annual reporting and the budget process, and that's going to help shape and understand kind of exactly what resources we need to move forward on.
Okay.
And we've already got a head start because we've got information from our subcommittees on this commission on that as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Cabot?
Thank you. So I'm just trying to visualize the duties and function of that adaptation and resiliency towards climate risk person. And it seems like those functions might end up in, say, Public Works Department, trying to make infrastructure type things resilient? Or is it more community services, trying to help people do the things that adjust to what the climate's doing to them? But it doesn't feel like it's part of the regular thing I think of as the sustainability program, which is figuring out how do we become more gentle and sustainable about the way we go about getting other things done. You know, how is it looking to you?
Yeah, so I think we're aligned in that thinking. There's a lot of details that we need to work out as far as where the position would live, I'd say. But yes, given these two examples with a local hazard mitigation plan, that's been falling into Public Works's wheelhouse. And then the health and safety element and environmental justice is falling into community development. And so, yes, I think that's exactly the need that we're trying to connect, because it does span over multiple departments. It has very big impacts to the community, and it's a very important position that's needed to kind of come full circle on everything that's happening between those departments.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, one other, I'm still struggling with the timeline here. So is the climate adaptation and resiliency position, would that be hitting the 22-23 budget, or is that hitting the 21-22 budget?
The 2021-22 budget.
Okay, which ends in June. So that means that the person would presumably possibly be on staff before June.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
All right, any other clarifying questions at this point? If not, I'm not seeing any, then we can move on to public comment. Ms. Almendral, do we have any public comment on this item?
Just as a reminder, if you wish to give the Environmental Quality Commission public comment on item D3, review and discuss presentation on proposed additional staff resources for implementing the 2030 Climate Action Plan, please engage the raised hand feature or dial *9 to raise your virtual hand. Last call for public comment on item D3. There are no public comments on this item. I return the meeting to you, Chair Payne.
Thank you. Then we can open this item up for EQC discussion right now. And just to sort of restate what we are discussing right now, we're going to have a motion on whether the requested EQC, yeah, if you could move to that slide, that would be great. The requested EQC support for this recommendation to City Council, which is for 1 full-time equivalent personnel for the resiliency manager, and then $100,000 of additional contract services to support CAP projects. So with that said, would anyone like to start us off in the discussion? Yes, Josie.
I support this. You know, generally, I think we need to staff up to work on the CAP, so I'm supportive. My only request would be, you know, that we work smart in addition to putting more resources, like we use every resource well. I feel like, I know Candace put a ton of time into that CAP update. I really think that was a misuse of resources. It was way too much effort at that. That's my opinion. I know I've stated that. So I think the updates need to be really short, not much time spent at it, automated as possible. And so it would be disappointing to bring on a lot of new resources and have them spent in ways that are not, at least in my view, fruitful. But generally, yes, I agree that we need more resources, and I think these are ways to use them that are helpful.
Yes, Angela.
I'm supportive of this as well. I'm excited about the position for climate adaptation. I do think that's important. I think there's a lot of complexity there, and there's a lot of different projects, all of which need to be tied together. And it is a very different stream of work. I agree Rebecca. And so I think it could help take a lot off of everybody else's plates if there's someone to really be the head and point person for that. So I fully support that. Thank you for doing that.
One thing that seems really interesting to me about this position is still the potential for outreach, just because this seems like such a visceral way to connect to people, the importance of all of the actions that we're trying to take. And it seems to keep coming back that, you know, a large swath of the city is set to flood. And I feel like there's very little knowledge of that. I mean, I think we're still talking about maybe 1% of people who know that. And I don't know, it's probably the people in this meeting plus some of the people we've told about it before. So it's a great opportunity for outreach to connect with people for a position like this. And yeah, hopefully build up critical support for every action that needs to be done.
+1 on that.
Commissioners Cabot, London, and Elkins. Cabot?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I also agree that using the adaptation staff person to explain the importance and the reality of the impacts of climate change can really help both take the burden off the sustainability staff from doing that, and then support the action of the community to support council in the types of policies that are needed, both to adapt and to demonstrate the mitigation and the leadership that can flow from good efforts and good experiments done here. So yeah, I'm for staffing up, and I also support the idea of really focusing on making these staffing resources impactful. And we don't need a lot of words. We need great experiments presented and shared well.
Commissioner Elkins?
Yeah, I'll just add my voice that absolutely support a further position, and looking forward to hearing about the other positions that Rebecca recommends in the future. But certainly I would support this one. The more positions we have, the more it'll become obvious that we're working on something really serious here. So yeah.
And Commissioner London?
I'm also supportive.
All right, so it sounds like we have pretty unanimous support for this position and then some down the line. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the staff requested EQC report in this context.
And I second it.
All right, Ms. Almondral, can you lead a roll call for the vote on the stated motion?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Payne. We have a motion from Vice Chair Evans, seconded by Commissioner Gellard. Commissioner Elkins, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Vice Chair Evans?
Aye.
Commissioner Gellard?
Aye.
Commissioner Cabot?
Aye.
Commissioner London?
Aye.
Chair Payne?
Aye.
And it appears Commissioner Price has left us. So
Yeah.
motion passes.
Yes, she left the meeting at 9. I'm sorry if we should have made a note of that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, great. So then that concludes our regular business for the evening. So then we can move on to section E, which is advisory body member reports. So are there any reports from advisory body members since our last meeting? And by advisory, I'm sorry, I'm in a little losing my words here, but any reports from staff or from subcommittees or individual commissioners at this time? I am not seeing anything.
So I do have a couple updates.
Oh, yes.
So I did mention that the progress report was received and filed by the city council. And we also took an agenda item regarding the renewable microgrid for the Menlo Park Community Campus, and the council gave direction to staff to pursue a direct purchase on that instead of a PPA. And so it was, it's going to be up to $5 million for the direct purchase, and includes 27 charging spaces, solar thermal, heat pumps for the pool. So a very clean energy package. And so we're working very hard to get the contract that's needed before council in the next few weeks, so that we can keep that project on track and make sure that the way it's built is going to be able to easily fit the microgrid. So the design teams are working together and working with the city attorney's office, also working with our facilities team to understand what kind of operations and maintenance elements that they need to move this project forward. So definitely a lot of conversations across departments on that one.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Gaylord.
Yeah, just quickly, not exactly subcommittee related, but building decarbonization related. One is Tom and I, it was mentioned earlier, going to give a talk, and the date I think is November. Is it November 30th, Tom? Anyway, maybe you can chime in. It's a library talk on how to electrify your home. So maybe get the word out about that and come if you're interested. The other thing is I started a next door group called the Home Electrifiers, and I think Commissioner Elkins is on it. Maybe I can't remember if anyone else is. Oh, Tom is on it, but it's got 36 members in the community, people who are in various phases of the journey of electrifying their homes. Some people are fully electrified, other people are partially there. So feel free to join, or if you talk to community members who are struggling, it's a good place to get good resources about equipment choices and contractors and how-tos. It's not political, it's all neighbors helping neighbors.
Thank you. Oh, Commissioner Cabot.
Yes, I just wanted to report that today there was a San Mateo County CCAG meeting that was very instructional and informative about different cities' efforts to make progress on their climate action plans. And it was great to see our sustainability manager, Rebecca Lucky, presenting on Menlo Park's progress and issues that as we move forward. And then also folks were representing what's going on in Berkeley, and also Half Moon Bay representative. So it's good to see activities by different cities around the Bay Area really getting out there and leading the charge on developing impactful policies.
Great, thank you. I have a quick question for anybody. Do we know what the current schedule is for how much longer our meetings will be virtual versus, is there any plan for us to meet again in person?
The last communication I saw, but I don't remember the timeline on it, was that we were going to continue to be virtual for the next chunk of time.
So indefinitely?
Whatever that means.
Okay.
So yeah, I believe the city council needs to approve every 30 days whether they want to continue the virtual meetings. And so I think the processes of the council is following the virtual meetings, and the commissions are also included as part of that approval for virtual meetings.
Okay. Just curious, figured this was a good time to ask. All right, so if there are no other reports at this time, and it doesn't look like there are, then I think we can adjourn the meeting at 9:40 p.m. We beat last month at least, so good work, everyone. And all right, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you. Good night.